Okay. Oh my God. Maybe, maybe this will work. Hello. Oh my gosh. Let's try this again. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for your patience. So I know. Nice to see all of you. Oh, this day has been it's been a trial and tribulation, let me tell you. I had this grand plan. I had this grand plan for this live stream. I was like, my internet is shoddy. Hello. I was like, my internet is shoddy. I'm going to go and borrow my work Wi-Fi because that seems like a great idea. I'm like, that'll be great. I'll go to work. The Wi-Fi is wonderful there. It'll all work out. And so I had everything planned. I have my script, my little talking stuff that I want to go through with the live stream. I have everything planned out, drive to work, have everything set up, and then I go to use the camera and it doesn't work. So I was like, well, okay, I'll just drive back home and set it up here. And guess what's not working? My webcam's not working. So, so I'm actually using my FaceTime camera, which is why my computer sits higher than my seat. So that's why I'm looking up to you all, because my webcam no longer works. So why are we not surprised? But hello. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that this is working now, and technology will just deal with it. What can we do? What can we do? And so because the internet is so shoddy, we're going to talk about the Untamed Mo Dao Zu Shi. We're just going to talk about it today in this. We are going to talk. I will. Thank you, Loon. Thank you. I think I'm going to mess with the webcam later. It may work for reactions still. It's just live stream is so difficult on my computer and where I'm at. My internet's just not very good. It's hard to support it. And so fingers crossed, knock on wood, say prayers that this does not fizzle out, that we can make it through talking about Mo Dao Zu Shi and the Untamed. But I really, really am excited to finally talk to you all because, yeah, it's the end of a journey. We've made it. I cannot believe that I'm done reading Mo Dao Zu Shi. There's spoilers abound, y'all. If you've not read the novel or watched The Untamed, there's going to be spoilers in this live stream because we can finally talk about things. And I like doing live streams at the end of series because I like looking at the chat and seeing what you all are saying. And I feel like if you haven't finished a series, then you'll get into the chat and get spoiled. But no, there's no spoilers now, unless you are coming into this live stream without seeing everything. We can talk about whatever. But hello, I'm looking at the chat. Hello, everybody. I'm seeing Even, Molly, Lolly, Laylee, Samina, Forever Mood, Kian, Anastasia, Klima, Wushin, Sweebian, Kai, Kix K, yeah, Couscous, hello, yeah, hi everybody. We finally made it to the end of Mo Dao Zu Shi. So yeah, first and foremost, Wushin Sweebian, you are in the chat right now. I know you said you couldn't make the whole chat probably, but thank you, because we all need to give Wushin Sweebian a hand, because way back in December of 2020, I had started this channel on YouTube back in May of 2020, just on a whim. It was during the pandemic, just starting this channel just because I had for a long time gotten out of watching manga and anime. And during the pandemic, I decided to go back and start getting back into manga and anime. And so during that whole thing, I was watching a few series, and Wushin Sweebian was like, you need to watch Mo Dao Zu Shi. And I was like, Mo Dao Zu Shi, and it was a donghua, and I've never watched or read a donmai, donghua, manhwa at all. I didn't even know what it was. My uncultured white ass did not know what any of this was. And so I was like, oh, okay. All right, sure. I'll give that a try. So back in December of 2020, I started watching the donghua for Mo Dao Zu Shi, and slowly but surely fell in love. And so I was like, oh, okay. Oh, gee, I'm seeing your thing. Yeah, gee, no spoilers. There's gonna be so many spoilers in here. So yeah, thank you for coming in and supporting. Thank you for so much. But yeah, if you've not seen Mo Dao Zu Shi or The Untamed, there be spoilers. So thank you for showing up and saying hi. But yeah, it's been my introduction into Donghua and Donmai and Manhwa, and now as Shizoon says, I'm in the MXTX hole, and I'm so happy. So excited because it's so good. There needs to be so many more reactions of it because it's so good. It's so like Wushin and Wanji are an OTP at this point. They may be my OTP. They may be the OTP of OTPs. I don't know anybody that could ship either of those characters with anyone else. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. But thank you, Wushin Suibian, for getting me like nearly a year and a half ago into this series and falling down this hole into MXTX world. And I'm so grateful. So thank you, first of all. First of all, thank you for that. I am eternally grateful for you introducing me into the world of Donghua and Mo Dao Zu Shi. It's great. So yeah, watching the Donghua, the first 2 seasons, starting the novel and the audio drama, which was amazing and has been amazing, and then getting into the season 3 of the Donghua. And then also a big shout out and thanks to all of you who convinced me to watch The Untamed, because at first, I'm going to be honest, I was not looking forward to The Untamed at first because I have a very live action adaptations of anime are not great. So I was really sad, and I will not sad, but I was really nervous about going into The Untamed because I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not. I don't know how to feel, because usually when they try to do a live adaptation of an anime, there's so many fantastical elements that they can't nail, and it's not done right. And it's like, but The Untamed blew out the water any expectation I had for a live action series. Now it's set the bar. Like, I know they're doing a live action adaptation of Heaven Official's Blessing. I don't know how you can live up to The Untamed, because The Untamed is just such a great adaptation of the original series. And it's so great. It expands in the best ways. The stuff that they add because of censorship is just, it's fine. And once you watch the behind the scenes things, which for those of you that are just on YouTube and not on Patreon, that's going to come out tomorrow, the behind the scenes reactions that I did. Just once you see all the behind the scenes stuff, you really get to appreciate how much work and dedication they did to the series to make it as good as they did. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the Untamed. And I'm so excited and happy that I was able to watch it alongside reading the novel and listening to the audio drama. It was a perfect combination. And we've talked about this in the comments, but I agree. I think Molly's brought this up in the comments on YouTube, and several of you have brought this up. But the thing of it is, my dog's going crazy, so we'll have to excuse him. But the thing of it is, I feel like in order to get the full Mo Dao Zu Shi experience, you have to see all the adaptations. You have to watch all the versions. It's great if you watch the Donghua. It's great if you read the novel. Great if you listen to the audio drama. Great if you see the Untamed. But to get the full encompassing experience, you've got to see all of them. And that's very rare to say about a series, that you've got to watch all of them to really get it. And I feel like there's every adaptation has fans. There's some people that like the Untamed more. Some people like the audio drama and novel more. Some people like the Donghua more. And I don't think anybody's wrong. I think you can pick your favorites and you're great. It's fine. But as far as my thoughts on where I would rank them, to be honest, the novel and the audio drama is my favorite. Like, the OG is my favorite. After having finished the novel, I'm like, that's seeing MXTX's work as she originally wanted it is my favorite. And the audio drama is such a perfect complement to it. It does everything that it can to be, if you want to hear these things being acted out, it's the best possible option for that. So it's my favorite. And then honestly, The Untamed is my second favorite. The Untamed is my second favorite. I love The Untamed so much because it expands on all of the characters. It gives characters that MXTX doesn't focus on more screen time. Honestly, the stuff they add with the yin iron was fine. I didn't find it overly distracting. I thought some of the corners they had to cut were okay. Even the ending, as weird as the ending can be, and I know a lot of people like the ending, as you guys have said in the comments, as kind of odd as the editing is for the ending, it's fine. It doesn't diminish my view of the entire series as a whole. Yeah, more Jishin, definitely. But I feel like The Untamed was my second favorite. And then oddly enough, I started out with the Donghua, but it's my least favorite of all three. I love it. I still love it. But I think if I go back and revisit Mo Dao Zu Shi, it's going to be the version I revisit the least. I think it'll be the version I see the least, because I love the Untamed so much, and it's got so many episodes behind it. And then you can't really see on the back shelf there, but by Otasaku Man, there are all of my MXTX works that I have right now. Molly gave me volume 1 of Scum Villain Self-Saving System, and then I have volume 1 of Mo Dao Zu Shi, and now I have volumes 1 and 2 of I have volumes 1 and 2 of now Scum Villain Self-Saving System, and volume 1 and 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. So right there in the middle, like right where my fingers are pointing, that is my MXTX shelf. And I will slowly be making my way through Heaven Official's Blessing, TGCF, and Scum Villain. Slowly but surely, I will be making my way through these series, because now I'm hooked. I love MXTX as a writer. If you guys listen to me doing the audio drama for the last of the chapters, her afterword is so inspiring. If you write or if you create things, like her afterword about just doing whatever you want for yourself and just creating different things because it's something that you enjoy, and you're not making it for a specific audience, but just for your enjoyment. And I love that message. Like, if you just write to your strengths and you write something a story you want to tell, it will find an audience. Now, the size of that audience may vary, but it will find an audience, and you'll be able to kind of cultivate a base with it. And that's really cool. It's so inspiring. I loved her afterward at the end of that. So let me go over here to the chat and see what is all on there before we really get started talking about this series. But Owen Ching. Also, thank you all for your patience with my pronunciation. Thank you. I know people have constantly sent me things of how to pronounce names and doing things like that. And it has been a learning curve, because my brain I teach English. So my brain is so hardwired into the English pronunciations and phonics that when it's going into another language like Chinese, I'm like, but that's an X. Why does it sound like a sh? So it's just, or it's a Q. Why does it sound like a ch? It's just my brain is like, why are you pronouncing things the wrong way? And it's not that it's wrong. It's just in a different language. And so thank you all for your patience. I feel like if you've watched other shows where I've had a learning curve with pronunciation, that's been a thing. And with Heaven Official's Blessing, after watching episodes 1 and 2, Woosh and Sweebian sent me a short video on like how to pronounce names. That helped out a lot. I did like a little phonics thing, like a code sheet, be like, okay, here's how we say their names. And that helped out tremendously. So hopefully going into future MXTX series and future Donghua, Donmai, that'll be something that it's like, okay, I can pronounce it. It's fine. But let me go back here to the chat here. And then going through some of these comments about the Donghua, the pacing problems. Yeah, I think that's my biggest issue with the Donghua is that its pacing is so erratic, especially between the seasons. And I get why they struggled with that. I mean, they didn't really have a choice, budget constraints, time constraints, but it does, in comparison to the Untamed in the novel, it does make it's a weaker aspect of it. So yeah, I definitely get that. But yeah, going through here. Sunray, if you get a chance to listen to the audio drama, seeing some of these chapters from Mo Dao Zu Shi, like in the audio drama spoken aloud, my heart, it elevated it so much, getting to hear Wushin and Wanji say some of these things. It's just, it's great. And then let me go through here. I've seen those who got it all wrong. Thank you, Kian. I feel like I do it wrong all the time. Or somebody will post something, they'll be like, here's how you pronounce it. I'm like, okay, good. And I'll practice it. And then when I go to do the actual discussion, we'll get it wrong and be like, well, I tried. Okay, Rebecca, how to pronounce the Untamed names. Yeah, so with the Q sound, because in English it's like k, and then in Chinese it's ch, so it's like Wen Qing. And I'm like, with Ning, those names are easy. Like Yao. Yao's my favorite Chinese name because it's so easy. I'm like, Yao, let's name every character that. Please. I'm glad that there's a Yao in Heaven Official's Blessing. That one will be the easiest one for me to pronounce in the entire series. Sunray, that's awesome about taking Mandarin. I really wish I could know another language like Chinese or Japanese or Mandarin, and Huckleberry is making an appearance. But it's just, gosh, it's so hard to wire your brain, especially the older you get to like learning a language. Yeah, Woosh and Sweebian, you make a really good point. If the Donghua had been able to have 50 episodes, that would have been amazing. I would have loved that. Like 50 episodes of the Donghua. Of course, the animation team sitting there like, what? I think they would have freaked out, but I wish we could have got 50 episodes of the Donghua. I will give the Donghua this. What I love about the Donghua, season 3 is my favorite because the bars of censorship that they pulled with the Donghua was so good. Like they got away with a lot of stuff. And Mo Dao Zu Shi Q, upon hindsight, after reading the extra chapters, and several of you have noted this in the comments, Mo Dao Zu Shi Q got away with a lot of stuff, like a lot of things. I think because Mo Dao Zu Shi Q is like, it's a cute chibi series, but really there was so many different little moments that I'm like, that's from the extra chapters, or that's kind of a shippy moment. That's a Wangshin moment. What? And I think because it all looked cutesy, the censorship was like, it's fine. It's just a cute little chibi series. What could it be talking about? And I'm like, I have a much bigger appreciation for Mo Dao Zu Shi Q after reading the full book. It's just, but yeah, the 3rd season of the Donghua, they got away with a lot of stuff. And now, oh God, y'all, now anytime I see the gif of Wushin's hand on Bishin sliding it back into the sheath, I can't look at Bishin the same way again. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the extra chapters, but I can't. I cannot look at Bishin the same way again. Sweebian's over in the corner being like, whoo! Sweebian's like, dodge that bullet. I've been bonked and I'm going to horny jail. The live stream's over. We didn't make it 16 minutes into this. Before getting to the extra chapters. We'll get to the extra chapters. I've got like a whole section on here about the extra chapters. We'll get to those. I'm going to wait for the extra chapters just a little bit because if I start down that rabbit hole, I won't stop. And then I cannot. So I wanted to talk about the Donghua first and just kind of go through them. But Bishin and Sweebian. But yeah, several of you were noting in the comments about Cornetto ads. I miss Cornetto ads. I wish the Untamed had little Cornetto ads included. That would have been adorable. Would have liked that a lot. But I want a Cornetto so badly, and we don't have these in the US. So now I'm like, can I import them? Can we freeze dry those? Can those make it overseas by airmail? Can I just have them like parachuted down to have some Cornettos? Unfortunately, I'm allergic to cocoa, so I can't have any chocolate. So a lot of those Cornettos in the ads had chocolate all over them. So I'm like, that probably won't work. So, but someone in Rebecca said, I have a question for Bishin. Why does it like to cut off arms so much? Because it's trying to keep the arms away. Only Wushin's arms can touch Bishin. Let's be real. So thank you all, those of you that are coming in the chat right now. It's off the rails already. We've not made it 20 minutes in and we've already gone off the rails. So you all probably didn't expect anything less. But I do appreciate the animation of the Donghua. I do appreciate the animation of it. And now the only Donghua I've watched are Link Click and Mo Dao Zu Shi, which are very different animation styles. And I've heard that Scum Villain is like a CGI animation style when I get to it, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But it's interesting that the animation styles for these Donghua vary so much. And I'm really excited to get into more of those. But yeah, the animation was gorgeous in the Donghua. The very first episode, I would say that the very first episode of Mo Dao Zu Shi, I was really intimidated going in to this series because I knew it was a Donghua. I knew it would involve Chinese cultural tropes that I have no clue about. And so I was really nervous. And I remember that I was given a character sheet back when it started, and the character sheet didn't tell anything about the plot. It just gave you character names. It told me what a courtesy name was, which I had no clue about. And then it told me how characters were related. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll know how this person's related to this. And once you get into the series and realize like how many uncles Ling has, you're like, wow, this family tree, it's a good thing I have this character sheet because it could get really confusing really quickly with this series. But other than that, like the first episode, I was really worried going into it that I'd be super confused. I wouldn't know what was going on. But the animation and the visual storytelling of that first episode, even though you have no clue what's going on because it's so mysterious, it's so well done and it really draws you in. Like the whole scene with the iconic scene of the Ealing patriarch playing the flute and the birds flying overhead. I will always remember that. That's like such an iconic scene. I'm like, even it's probably like one of the best ways to start out. I like how the Untamed starts out. But the Donghua will always have that special place in my heart of just that visual. I'm like, oh, and just illustrating how dangerous the Ealing patriarch supposedly is. And then the next time we see him, it's Wuxin waking up in Mo Jianyu's body with makeup on, and you're like, what's happening? And so it's so iconic. I love it so much. All right, let me look down here at the chat. You all are talking about, yeah, Heaven Official's Blessing animation is different. And I'm glad we'll talk about Heaven Official's Blessing at the end, but I am glad that it's not the same so far as Mo Dao Zu Shi. I was a little worried about that. But I'm glad MXTX is writing very different stories. I like that a lot. Loon Yuri said, did you get a character sheet for Heaven Official's Blessing? I did not get a character sheet for Heaven Official's Blessing. I know to condition myself now. I'm like, okay, I know what I need to look for. And that when I go back and rewatch the episode for the discussion, I can write character names down and try to keep track of those. I feel like I'm in a better place having watched and read Mo Dao Zu Shi. I feel like it's trained me a little bit to be ready to go into the next series. So that's good. Samina, who do you think is more miserable, novel Lanzon or the Untamed Lanzon? Ooh. That's a really good question. I'm sure everybody in the chat is going to have a view on that. I want to say my instinct reaction is to say novel Lanzan, but as far as the Untamed versus the Donghua does do a thing where they really animate his face. His facial expressions are much more expressive in the Donghua because it's animation and they can exaggerate features and make certain gestures and things look sadder. But having said that, Yibo does an excellent job of portraying emotion. And we'll talk about Yibo when we get into the Untamed, but the way he's able to act without speaking is really underrated. I'm like, that is so hard to convey. Like you get to the point in the Untamed where you can just look at Yibo and know what he's thinking, even though he's saying nothing. His facial expressions are so emotive and they're just so good. But yeah, I don't know. The Donghua Lanzan is really expressive. So that's a hard question. I feel like they all do a good job of portraying the sadness that Lanzan has, especially in those years that Wuxin is absent from the story. So thank you guys for joining. I'm getting on the chat here real quick and doing all this and seeing all these. I almost could. Okay, so Rebecca's saying I almost couldn't watch the Untamed. I was confused in episode 1. Here's the thing. I am glad that I did watch the Donghua first. If you have not watched the Untamed or the novel and you've only watched the Donghua and you're like, I don't know. I feel like if you watch the Donghua first, that is a good way to get familiarized with the characters and the plot and knowing what's going on. It's the Donghua expands the least. And so I feel like if you watch it first, you get this baseline of what's going on. And then if you watch the Untamed and you read the novel and the Donghua afterward, or the novel and the manhwa and the audio drama afterwards, it expands on what you knew from the Donghua, and it's so much more richer and developed, and it just really makes it more complete. So I'm glad I watched the Donghua first before I watched the Untamed. I think, Rebecca, if I hadn't, I would have been really confused in the Untamed as well. So I totally get that. Definitely get that. Okay, but yeah, so going back with the Donghua here, the art style with the intro, I do like that they're all different. The intro to the Donghua, Link Click, and Heaven Official's Blessing, they're all different art styles. It's great. And then, yeah, getting used to the characters before expanding on them in the other versions, that's all really good. Like I said, the Donghua, yeah, like Wuxin Suibian says, the Donghua brings you into the fandom and the rest is the deep dive. Yeah, I feel like once you start the Untamed, it's over. It's done. You might as well just write MXTX a letter being like, what do I owe you? Because now I'm stuck in this fandom. I can't escape. King Benny Boy, hello. Thank you for joining in the chat. But yeah, I am grateful for the Donghua. because it did start this whole, it started everything and then just, it got you on the roller coaster and then now you can't get off. It's like there's, yeah, it's been a year and a half and I can't escape. No, it's over. I've been with this series for a year and a half and now I'm getting into Heaven Official's Blessing and then Scum Villain. It's just MXTX courses. It's been a gateway into Donghua and Donmai, and I'm so grateful for her work and reading it and really getting into this because she's an amazing writer. Like just her world building and how consistent she is throughout it. And the fact that so far, what I've seen of Heaven Official's Blessing is so different than Mo Dao Zu Shi. That's what gets me, is I was afraid going into Heaven Official's Blessing that it was going to be like a rehashing of the same type of story, but it's not. It's very different so far. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because, you know, some authors, when you read their work, you're like, you do see similarities, but some authors, their work is kind of repetitive. And you're like, this seems like the same story that I read before. But so far, no, Heaven Official's Blessing seems very different. We have a cinnamon bun for our protagonist instead of a chaotic gremlin. Exciting times. But it's, oh man, Wushin Suibian has been in it since the first season of Mo Dao Zu Shi. Yeah, I got lucky. First and foremost, with this Donghua, if we're going to finish talking about the Donghua, moving on into, because I don't have a lot of notes about the Donghua. The Donghua is great. It's very short. It's kind of erratic. There are parts I want to talk about before moving on, but I will say this. I got lucky. I was starting with Mo Dao Zu Shi. I am very fortunate that by the time I started watching this series, I got to watch straight through seasons 1 and seasons 2. I could start the novel and the audio drama. Y'all were incredibly kind and sent me a digital version before it got banned so that I could read the whole thing and not have to wait a year. And then I got to watch Mo Dao Zu Shi straight through. I got to watch straight in season 3 and then finish out. The only thing I've not finished is the manhwa. And I do want to talk about that real quick because some people in the Discord were asking about it. As far as the manhwa goes, I had some people comment and ask what I would do. I have read the manhwa up until chapter 231. That's where I'm at with the manhwa. And it was right when it's right in this, at the part where the bathtub breaks and Wushin and Wanji have their little scuttle, their little lovers quarrel. You knew it was going to happen because it's a romance. It has to happen at some point. But that's as far as I've gotten with the manhwa. And so I've decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait and wait until the manhwa's finished. And I'm sure everybody on Discord or on YouTube will tell me when, or on Twitter will tell me when it's done. And then I'm going to go back and do a reaction of the rest of the manhwa. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait. Go wait till it's all finished and translated into English. And then I'm going to go back and read chapter 232 all the way through, all the way through the end of the manhwa. And then see the uncensored spicy chapters too. See what happens. You know, we've read the extra chapters, so we know what happens. But seeing it, so Mo Dao Zu Shi is done technically. The only thing I have left to finish is the manhwa. So, okay, Sunray. Manhwa is Korean. Manhwa. Am I saying this right? Manhwa is Chinese. Help. So, however I'm supposed to pronounce that, that I'm gonna wait. So there will be at least manhwa. Okay. So there will be at least one more Mo Dao Zu Shi video after this, and that is going to be finishing up the manhwa of Mo Dao Zu Shi. And starting from chapters 232 on to however it finishes. So I'm going to be patient. That'll be nice because as we're in MXTX, Mo Dao Zu Shi hiatus, that'll be something nice to go back to and get to see it. And yes, I have had a lot of people ask about Heaven Official's Blessing, if I'm going to react to the manhwa of it. When I'm done with the Donghua, while we're waiting on season 2, I do want to start reading the novel and kind of doing novel chapter reviews alongside with reacting to the manhwa as well. So that's really exciting. I've heard it's gorgeous. I've heard the artwork is beautiful. So I'm really, really excited. Lisa Wu, is there a trailer to season 2? Okay. If there's a trailer to season 2, when I get done with season 1, I will definitely watch it. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting. I really enjoyed doing the reactions to the last couple of novel chapters. I've never done that before. I was worried about reacting to a reading because when you read something, I didn't want to make it to where y'all were just sitting there watching me like scan a page and read lines. So I thought that just doing the cut of me getting to the part where there were actually things to react to was fun. And I'll probably do that for Heaven Official's Blessing too when I start reading the novel. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, and then when the live action for TGCF comes out, that would definitely be something to watch, kind of like the Untamed. That'll be exciting as well. So, Rebecca, Birth of the Drama King. I've been keeping a list because my plan is that once I do all of MXTX's work, once I get through Heaven Official's Blessing and Scum Villain, Mondays are going to be, it's going to be Donghua Mondays. Like that's just, it's decided. There's so many Donghua and Donmai that I want to watch and see. So I'm just going to keep Mondays being like, what am I going to watch on Monday? Oh, Donghua. Yeah. Because I've had people recommend Word of Honor. I've had people recommend Thousand Autumns. I've had people recommend, like you just said, Birth of the Drama King, Spirit Pact. There's been like so many Donghua and different things that have been recommended. I'm like, no, I want to watch them. I want to see. So there's definitely no animes on Monday. It's going to be Donghua, Donmai, and that's going to be set for a while because there's so many that I want to do. Sunray. Yeah. Honestly, the only other reactor I really even watch because I don't really have a lot of time to do anything else is Semblance of Sanity. I wish they would watch Mo Dao Zu Shi. I'm hoping since they've watched a few other BL series now that they'll get into Mo Dao Zu Shi. That would be, and they did read, there's one series they did read on their Twitch channel. I didn't read it too, but it was, it's a Donghua, but it was about gaming. It was something, but it was a Donghua, and they read it was a manhua. And so I feel like they're getting into more of that content. So that would be a good one for them to do too. I agree. But okay. So and they need to see Link Click, Wush and Sweebian. Absolutely. Link Click is like, mwah, it's so good. I'm definitely I'm gonna watch season 2 of Link Click absolutely when it comes out. Like that's already been decided. King's Avatar, yes, I do have King's Avatar on my list. That's one of them too. What I'll probably do is just do a poll whenever we finish Scum Villain. I'll probably just do a big poll and say, here are the Donghua Donmai that I have. What do you want me to watch first? And then just go from there. But yeah. And then 2HA, that's the one that has the very funky title. That one's been recommended, but I know y'all say they're making a live action of it. And then it's based on a novel, right? So that's one that people have just been like, oh my God, you need to see it. And I'm like, ah. So yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard to pick them. But you know what? All we have is time, right? So we can just do whatever's, right? So, okay. I want to talk about the Untamed. We're 32 minutes into this. We need to talk. The Donghua, as far as the Donghua goes, it's great. We'll probably bring back up the Donghua as we go into these other parts and talk about the Untamed as well and the characters and everything. But here's the thing. The Untamed, like I said, I was really nervous going into it. I did not know if I would like it because usually live action of anime and live action versions of anything animated, I get kind of like nervous about. But here is the thing. Mo Dao Zu Shi originally is a novel. It's not an animation first and then it's adapted. It's originally a story that's been adapted into a Donghua, into the Untamed, into an audio drama. So coming from a novel source material, I think helps in some way. But the Untamed really surprised me because it was so good. I ended up absolutely loving it. It expanded on all of these characters. The casting, can we talk about the casting? I think we've talked about the casting in the comments, but the casting for the Untamed is perfect. There is not one character in the Untamed that is not cast perfect. I've never really said that about any show I've ever watched. I'm always afraid of adaptations of novels because you have in your mind how a character is supposed to look, how they're supposed to sound. And when you see that character in an adaptation, so many times it is disappointing. You're like, oh, that doesn't look like how I expect. That doesn't look like how they're supposed to sound. It can be so disappointing. But then when you get into the Untamed, it's perfect. Like at the moment you see Zahn as Wushin, you're like, no, that's Wushin. Yibo was the only like slight curve for me, only because he looked so young in the, I think just because he looks so young in the first episode. But then by the time you get 3 or 4 episodes in, you're like, no, Yibo he's Lanzan. It's absolutely wonderful. No, but now I'm like, I feel like if I see Zahn in any other role other than Wushin, I'll go back and go, but you're not Wushin. Like, I feel like I'm going to see him and go, but it's Wushin. Like he's just one of those characters. Wushin is like a character he was born to play. And it's so wonderful. It's so good. And I think what helps with the adaptation of the Untamed is the fact that the voices are dubbed, and that the dubbed voices are the voices that you hear in the Donghua, or they're similar to the ones in the Donghua. And so they match up with the character even better. So that's the thing too. A lot of times in adaptations, the voices of the characters aren't how you think they should sound, but in here it's perfect. I love it. And so I'm looking all at your comments here. And that's the thing too, watching the behind the scenes videos, you guys will see it tomorrow on YouTube, but the behind the scenes videos, seeing one of the videos that I watch is a Bazaar interview. It was recommended by like 8 patrons. 8 patrons were like, you have to watch the Bazaar interview of all the cast sitting there talking about just random things. It's so good. And it's so weird seeing them without wigs. I'm like, oh, I didn't recognize Jingyi for like a solid 5 minutes. I was like, I thought it was Sishui. And I was like, wait, that's Jingyi? What? Who? Also, Yang's actor has no right to look as good as he does. Just for the record, no right. Yang's actor has no right to look as good as he does. Yao's actor looks exactly like Yao as well. It's great, but I'm so excited for the behind the scenes stuff tomorrow. It's like 3 hours. It's 3 hours of me just watching these behind the scenes clips and talking about them and rambling about them. So I hope y'all are ready for that. Because that's literally just me fangirling for 3 hours straight. Why not? But yeah, the casting, and that's the other thing. A lot of people were trying to caution me going into the Untamed. They were like, like, just so you know, this show was on a budget. And I was fine with that going into the Untamed, because I told people in episode 1 that I watched a lot of soap operas, like US soap operas with my mother when I was a kid. So I am used to like a TV show budget. Like a soap opera budget is quite limited. And I feel like this series was, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And I feel like The Untamed is if Lord of the Rings was on a TV show budget, TV show soap opera budget. And I mean that in the best way. They took something that was very, very limited in its budget and made the best thing possible out of it. Sunray, if you don't know what a soap opera is, it's like, there are a lot of them here in the US, and they're just kind of like weekly shows that are maybe 30 minutes to an hour, but they kind of have a limited budget like The Untamed had. And so it's all like back and forth. It's not like a situational comedy like a sitcom is. They're more like dramatic. Soap operas are dramatic, and there's usually tension between families and lovers and romance and all this stuff. It's kind of hard to define, but they're a subgenre of TV. It's interesting. And in the US, there were so many of them when I grew up that you could watch, and they're all like romance shows that involved all these drama and tension and things like that. But yeah, but absolutely. But those moon boots, Wush and Sweet Bien, the moon boots, y'all warned me about the moon boots. I honestly did not notice them until a couple scenes where Wushin would lift up his leg, his hairy chicken legs, and you'd see the moon boots. And I'd be like, oh, okay, this is what y'all were talking about, the moon boots. But honestly, for the budget that the Untamed had and for the resources that they had, they really make the most of it. And watching the behind the scenes look into the show is so fun, because you kind of get to see, you're like, oh, okay, this is what this crew had to deal with, like doing, and the makeup and hair on this show, like just knowing it took them hours upon hours, and even more time, because Zahn and Yibo were just running around taking videos of each other. Like just the sheer amount of time it took them to do all of this, it makes you really appreciate the show even more. So I really like that. But the pacing of The Untamed is so good. It's so good. I was really worried. I was like, 50 episodes to tell all of this. Is that going to be enough time? No, it really is. And the way they handle, one thing I like about The Untamed is how they handle the flashback. I think the flashback was handled really well. That is the one thing about the novel. The novel goes, if I were to nitpick and critique the novel on one thing, it is that the flashbacks, they're very erratic. And I get that MXTX was publishing this like on a, I don't know if it was weekly or daily basis. So her pacing, probably she just did what she could with each chapter. But the Untamed, the way they handle the flashback, I love that they do it all in one big chunk. And then they do it all in one big chunk. And then you get through all the past events and then they come back to the present and finish up there. That thing was nice. I think that was good for, as a viewer, especially if you've not read the novel or, seen the Donghua. That was really, really good. I like the way that was handled. It was much better than the Donghua, and it was better than the novel itself. So that was really good. Back here in the comments. My reaction to the end. Yeah. Honestly, in hindsight, going back to the ending, I think the only thing about the ending of The Untamed that really bugs me is just the editing, not the content itself. Because yeah, the last shot, you see Wuxian looking back. Y'all know it's Wanji. You know it's him. You can see him in his eyes. Y'all know that. But the editing of it is just so bizarre. It's just so bizarre. It's not the content. It's the editing, the way that they jump back and forth. I was like, especially when they go back to Gusu after they part ways and then they part ways again. I'm like, you think they would have just gone to Gusu and then part ways and then had him come back and see him at the end. But it's done oddly. It's very different. So yeah. Someone said, I thought my laptop messed up. Yeah, I don't blame you. I would have been like, wait, what? And yeah, it is the censorship. But honestly, I was afraid of that too going into the Untamed, was how much it was going to be censored. I was like, okay, we can't, because the Donghua gets away with a lot. The Donghua got away with a lot of censorship. There's a lot of hand-holding like moments where I'm like, man, the Donghua really got away with some things, especially in season 3. The animators were like, screw it, we're going to do what we want. But the Untamed surprisingly gets away with a lot of things. And just, I've never, until reading Mo Dao Zu Shi and watching The Untamed, have I considered glances to be so sexual as they are now. like the term, and pardon my language, the term eye fucking has never had more of a connotation than it has after watching The Untamed and Mo Dao Zu Shi. It just never has. Oh yeah, Huckleberry's at my feet right now. He is my dog, and he has decided to join our chat here. But yeah, censorship unfortunately exists. But I think The Untamed did a really good job of dealing with it the best that it could. But man, the sensual gazes between these characters, I've never seen such romantic gazes held between two characters. It's so wonderful. And it shows that, because in a lot of series, romance is just portrayed as making out or screwing someone. And don't get me wrong, Mo Dao Zu Shi gets there. MXTX is not going to deny us that. But the majority of the story is just showing how romance is expressed through little gestures, through tiny things, through like holding a hand, through holding someone in your arms, through glancing at someone, through tiny little things, through like putting your hand on another man's sword and slowly sheathing it. Like, it's just the little things that this series does that all adds up and makes Mo Dao Zu Shi so special, and just shows that, yeah, you can have a scene. Rebecca, I'm going to read your comment. I think what really hooks me for anything is the chemistry between the characters and the actors. And it was filled to the brim with chemistry between everyone. Yeah, everyone has just amazing chemistry. Even Sushi, who I forgot about 90% of the time, had amazing chemistry with all the characters that he interacted with, especially with Yao. I was like, The Untamed made me remember Sushi. I consider that a major positive. If series can make me remember Sushi, I'm going to consider that a win. But yeah, Meguka 007, is the live stream going to remain on the channel? Yes, I am going to save this live stream, so it will be up here for people to watch later. Did I listen to all the versions of Wangshen in all versions? Which one is my favorite? Oh, that's so hard. I have, but which one? That's such a hard question. That's like asking which strawberry do you like out of this package of strawberries? which one do you like best? That's a really hard question. There's something, so I would say God, that's hard because I like the Donghua's version, but I like the Untamed's version. But then I love the audio dramas version too. I think it might be between the Donghua and the Untamed. I feel like the Untamed version was slowly by proxy and Stockholm syndrome seeped into my brain because I heard it the most. I've heard the Untamed version of Wangshin the most out of all of them. So I feel like I naturally want to say, yes, that's my favorite. But I do like the Donghuas a lot. So that's hard. That one's really hard. That's a good question. So let me see if there's any others on here. Do you intend to watch Untamed Boys episode? Untamed Boys episode. I do not know what that is. I don't know what that one is, cheaply. But the audio drama is really good, Sunray. I'll admit the audio drama is really, really good. That's such a hard question. What is the Untamed Boys? What is this? What is this? Loon Yuri, your question about Tubs for short. It's on my playlist. Okay. Here's my thing. Two things. One, Loon Yuri is asking about semantic error, which I do want to talk about semantic error. Yes, I'm going to talk about that real quick. But Tubs. Okay. So here's my thing. First of all, I know that I still want to do a video for Mo Dao Zu Shi of the manhwa. When the manhwa is finished, I do want to go back and watch and read the rest of the manhwa and do a reaction of it. So I want to do that. I do eventually. Oh, it's vlogs. Oh, okay. The Boys of the Untamed. Oh, okay, cool. I do eventually. Someone was commenting on YouTube about this a few days ago. I do eventually want to go back and record some more behind the scenes Untamed stuff. Not anytime soon because with scheduling, I want to get into Heaven Official's Blessing. But there's so much out there, and I've dove down the rabbit hole. So I do eventually want to do another long sit down with more behind the scenes things. It's just going to take me some time. So I'm going to need to be patient on that and just figure out when I have more time to sit down and do another like 3-hour binge. Right. So eventually what I will do is ask Patreon, but Chipa, I will make a note right now of what you just said. Chipa Lee. I'm going to make a note because you said it's on your playlist. Tubbs video. I'm going to make a note of that. Yeah. So I am going to make a note, Chipa, that I will probably come back and ask Patreon as well. And then, and then ask them for some more suggestions for another behind the scenes video and do that later this summer. So that's going to be on the agenda. Going to be on the agenda. I've got a couple other projects I want to work on first because I've been telling myself I'll get them done first. But then yeah, get into some more things. And definitely throughout the year, I want to incorporate, since we will be looking at MXTX works, incorporating other things with the Untamed. So I'm going to get to some more stuff. So definitely. But Loon Yuri, you asked about semantic error. I was going to wait till the end of the live stream to talk about this, but this is now as good a time as any. But I've been doing sub goals on YouTube. And so sub goals are something that if there's a show or something that I want to watch that I just haven't had time for, I want to make them like a subscriber goal on YouTube. And once I get to that subscriber goal, then I'm like, okay, cool. And usually the way that it works out is that by the time I finish one subscriber goal, oh no, you're fine. But by the time I finish one subscriber goal, I want to go on to the next one. And usually so far it's worked out pretty good. Like I've watched Arcane, I did Promare, and now I'm going to be about to, you've not destroyed the schedule, Yuri. I was actually getting onto the schedule. You're fine. But I'm about to do Demon Slayer season 2 because that was my next sub goal. So I'm about to do that starting at the end of the month, is going to be watching season 2 of Demon Slayer. But my plan had been that since semantic error is only 8 episodes, it's like a little mini season. I figured, once I get to 5,000 subscribers, I'll just start watching it. So that was my plan. My next sub goal was going to be watching semantic error because I love the manhwa. I love the manhwa for semantic error. And it's only 8 episodes, which is sad, but I love the manhwa so much. And I want to watch it. And so I was going to wait. So yeah, once my next sub goal is going to be semantic error. So yeah, it's going to be something different, something fun, but it might be, it's something that I've wanted to watch for a long time, but I just need to wait a little bit longer before I watch it. And so yeah, that's the plan anyway. So yeah, I do want to get to it eventually. Absolutely. And it's like a little mini series. It'll be fun. It'll be different. So yes. But yeah, the manhwa is great. I've heard the adaptation is great as well, so it's like yes. And Scum Villain, Yellow Soy, Scum Villain needs love. I'm excited to get to Scum Villain. I'm really excited and hyped for Scum Villain, but I'd already promised myself and many others that I would watch Heaven Official's Blessing and read it first. So, and I realize it's super long, and that may be something too when I get to it. That's going to be interesting because the novels are going to be coming out, in the volumes are going to be coming out in, different increments. And I know like volume 4 will be out by Christmas. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to have to we may have to start, I don't know, we may have to start Scum Villain before finishing Heaven Official's Blessing. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. Once we get to that point, we'll talk about it on Patreon and on the Discord and things like that. So I've heard the animation for Scum Villain is like CGI, but honestly, if you are from the US, there's some like sketchy CGI shows from back in the 90s that I loved. I talk about Reboot a lot. Reboot was like a late 90s CGI show back when CGI was first starting. And it's weird, but the story is amazing. So I loved it as a kid. So I'm not really worried about Scum Villain and the animation. I think that as long as the story is good, you can get past any type of weird animation and still appreciate it. And plus, there's the novel to fall back on to get that other adaptation. So I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. I'm excited for Scum Villain because I've heard it's more comedy than Heaven Official's Blessing and Mo Dao Zu Shi, which is exciting because I do like MXTX's comedy. Her comedy is so weird, but I like it. So I'm pretty excited about that. But back to the Untamed, the character development, especially with Jishin, especially with Chang. My connection says it's a little unstable, so I'm going to wait a second and make sure it gets back and say if we're good. I'm going to check and make sure we're good in the chat. All right, let me see here. Okay, there we go. All right, it said my connection was unstable for a minute. I was like, don't you do this, chat. Don't you put this evil on me. Yeah, but okay, glad the chat's still okay. Glad the live stream's still all right. But yeah, the Untamed, I think that what it does that helps out with Mo Dao Zu Shi is it takes characters like Mian, like Jishin, like Chang, and it expands on them more so than the novel. And then the novel has time, because the novel is really about Wangshen. It's really about Wanji and Wushin, and I don't blame it. But I love that the Untamed gives you all of those moments with these other characters, and it's expanded upon, and that's really awesome. I absolutely, and plus, the Untamed has given me the ultimate ship of Ji Yao, which has consumed my life now. And so, Ji Yao and Wangshen are now like the two OTPs. I guess we could call, do we call Ji Yao like DOTP? Like it's like the dead one preparing. Why MXTX? So I have on here to talk about ships at some point, but we might as well just bring up ships now if we're going to get into the Untamed and talk about it with the audio drama and the novel. We might as well just bring up ships and just go ahead and we're an hour into this chat. We might as well start talking about it and just go from there, right? Okay. So we did the really hyped Ji Yao. Man, from episode 1 and 2, maybe it was episode 2 of the Untamed. I will always remember watching episode 1 and 2 and then seeing the moment that Jishin has the box and that Yao, like they put his fingers over Yao's fingers. What? Again, hand touching and shy glances. Never in a series have I been more focused on people's hands than I have been in the Untamed and Mo Dao Zu Shi. I've never been so focused on the hand gestures of people. It was episode 3. Thank you. But episode 3, what? So good. Like instantly I was like, oh, okay. Because a lot of people had said when I was watching the Donghua, when I watched the Donghua and you get to the Guanyin temple scene, I was like, man, this is really sad about Jishin and Yao, but I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like something is missing. And several people were like, oh, well, when you get to the Untamed, there's gonna be a lot of Ji Yao content. And I was like, really? And then from episode 3 on, I was like, oh, I see what y'all are saying. I get it. But yeah, and then the whole thing with Chang and Ching, I ship Chang and Ching in the Untamed. In the novel and the Donghua, it's not really there, but in the Untamed, they made it there. So I definitely ship it in that in that adaptation. But I just really feel bad, if we're going to talk about ships, I just really feel bad about Jishin in all of this. Like, I feel like, having read to the end of the novel, the Donghua makes Chang get the rough end of the boat, because the rough end of the stick, Chang gets it in the Donghua because he goes into seclusion, when in reality it's Jishin. So in the actual source material. But I like that it's weird because Wang Xing gets the happy ending. Wang Xing gets the happy ending out of everybody, and they get to live their lives wonderfully. And then you have Chang, who in the Donghua goes into seclusion and kind of gets the rough end of the stick. But then in the novel and the Untamed, there's that hope for redemption. I know Molly and I were kind of talking about it in the comments on YouTube, but there's this offer of redemption with Chang's character in the novel and in the Untamed. But like Molly said, it's never going to go back to the way it was before. So there is that bittersweet sadness with his character, which is really sad. But then you have Jishin, and Jishin is just left just in a state of despair at the end of the novel and the Untamed. It's just the Untamed, the moment where Jishin is just like walking out of the temple and is just like barely like stumbling around. I was like, are you kidding? And in the novel where Jishin tells Chirin, he's like, I just don't want to talk about this right now. I'm like, because he's been so respectful of his uncle up until this point, but he's so devastated by the loss of Yao that he's just like, I really can't talk about this. It's like, oh. And then the fact that Wanji has to go back and talk to his brother and try to comfort him, it's just, but yeah, like you said, Molly, we do have Ji Yao fan fiction. That's the one thing, when I'm done with the series, my favorite thing about being done with a series is that now the floodgates are open and I can see all of the fan art, all of the fan fiction. I can just soak it all up like a sponge and then just dive down that rabbit hole and not feel like I'm being spoiled. Like that's a really good thing. But yeah, I agree, Kix K. One of the things I disliked about season 3, especially in hindsight, is honestly, that's one of the reasons why the Donghua is probably my least favorite adaptation, is the Guanyin temple scene in the Donghua. Like, it's just, at the time, I didn't know, which is why I'm glad that I watched it first. I didn't know in the Donghua the whole thing with the Guanyin temple. And I remember people commenting about it being like, and nobody was mean, nobody was angry, but there were several people in the comments that were like, Ludmilla, thank you for joining the chat and commenting later. I appreciate it. But it was just too rushed. And I remember people commenting saying, well, this is fine, but when you get to the novel and the Untamed, you'll like it a lot more. And I was like, okay. And now I know exactly what y'all are talking about. It all makes sense. You guys, everybody was right. Y'all were right, because I was like, oh, okay. The Donghua did rush through that quite a bit, to the point where you're like, oh, okay. I was like, I appreciate it a lot more the way that the novel and the Untamed handled it. But yeah, I mean, and talking about ships honestly, I never really shipped Chang with anybody. I kind of like people. There's been a big thing on social media and Twitter about Chang maybe being asexual, or at least being demisexual, or being on the spectrum with that and not really needing somebody. And I kind of like that. I like that his character doesn't necessarily need to be paired up with someone. That's the thing. So many stories, it's natural that we want to ship characters with characters, and that's fine. But I kind of like the idea of Chang having this platonic relationship with the people around him and just being a good uncle to Ling. I think that that's fine. I don't think his character needs to be paired up with anybody. And I think MXTX kind of makes the point with that, where she, in the novel, she talks about, like the whole matchmaking thing where everybody's trying to get Chang hooked up with somebody. And Chang's like, I don't want to. I think MXTX makes a point of saying, like, Chang doesn't have to be shipped with anybody. Like, it's fine. He can be a good cultivator and leader of his clan without being, because I think Chang's also so affected by seeing his parents' marriage and seeing how that was, and seeing the consequences of being married to someone just out of convenience or out of sake for the clan, that he realizes how dangerous that can be. That he's like, no, I don't really want to just get with somebody for the sake of getting with somebody. If I'm going to get with someone, I want to just be with somebody I really care about. And Chang has really high standards. Like, that's the thing too. If you don't view Chang as ace, if you think Chang is not asexual, then you can at least settle for the fact that Chang just has really super high standards. And right now in the series, there's nobody that's meeting those standards. And so that's the one thing I love about it, is that he has this, Wushin's like, here's this list of all these ladies, and Chang's like, they're not good enough for me. And I'm like, kudos, Chang. Way for you to have high standards. Way to go. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't settle for anything less, right? I kind of like that with Chang's character. I like the MXTX she doesn't try to pair off everybody with everybody. There are clearly pairings in this series, but then there's some characters that you're like, oh, they don't have to be with anybody. Like Mingju. Mingju didn't have to be with anybody. It's fine. We're all good. Huaisang. I mean, there's some people that ship Huaisang with Chang, and I'm like, that's such a weird pairing, especially in the context of the series. God, can we talk about Huaisang while we're on this? I've got down here characters and stuff to talk about in this. But Huaisang, one of the things I love about Mo Dao Zu Shi is just how because Yao and Huaisang, they are our antagonists because they're, obstacles for the protagonists, but they're not. What I love about the series is they are not the stereotypical antagonists or villains of the series. In many cases, even as Ida, his birthday is the 20th of, Huaisang's birthday is the 20th. Wow. On the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. What a thing. On a Gemini, Huaisang? How fitting. How fitting that he's a Gemini. So fitting indeed. I'm going to need to look up the zodiac signs for the characters. That's one thing. That's one project I want to work on this year, slowly but surely, is I want to do like compatibility videos. I love astrology. It's fun. But I would love to do some astrology videos about compatibility between characters, between Donghua and anime based on their zodiac signs. And so that would be very interesting, doing a Mo Dao Zu Shi compatibility video. Would be funny because Huaisang being a Gemini, curious. So yeah, I'm a Taurus, so surprising no one. And Wushin's his birthday being on Halloween. I love that. What a trickster birthday. It's so fun. But Huaisang, him and Yao, because Yao, what I love about his character as a villain is he is not the stereotypical villain you would expect out of a story. His motivations, you get to know his motivations, but that just makes his character all the more ambiguous and all the more, you can't really pin him down as an evil character. Like some of his motivations, they make so much sense. And even if you don't like Yao in the story, I feel like he's not a character that you just actively go, oh, he's the villain, we should hate him. There's, with the exception of when he wanted to order Fairy to be killed, and you're like, you don't order a dog to be killed. But with Huaisang, with his character, I love that MXTX never has the villain monologue come from him. Because you expect that, right? You expect that he's going to come out in the final act at the climax and say, oh, I was the villain. I was the mastermind all along. Here was how I did what I did. This is what I did. I'm going to lay out my plan for you. And it's like, oh, no, MXTX never does that. Wushin questions Huaisang. Wushin questions him and kind of lays everything out and says, this is what we think. But Huaisang never confirms it. And I like that MXTX leaves us as the audience. MXTX trusts that we are smart enough as the audience to put 2 and 2 together and figure it out and make our own assumptions. And I like that. I like that there's this level of ambiguity that's left with these characters. It's a lot of fun. I like it. Rebecca's saying the only person I truly hate is Wen Chao. Chao is awful. The only thing is, in the novel and in the Untamed, I will be honest, I felt a little wee bit bad for Chao and Zhao Zhao, just a wee bit when they died, just a little bit, especially the novel for Zhao Zhao. Like, girl, Zhao Zhao's death was gruesome. Like, just her shoving a table leg down her throat. What? Like, granted, they did some really, really awful things, and but I'm like one of those people that I'm like, even the most loathsome. No, okay. Lena 51244. I was trying to think. I'm like, is there any character I absolutely loathed in this series and did not have any sympathy for? If there was one character I had no sympathy for, it's Daddy Jin. Daddy Jin is not redeemable at all. Chao is a fun villain. He has a problematic characteristics, and he definitely, like, him and Zhao Zhao do things to deserve being killed, but the way they're killed, you still feel like kind of like, ooh, that was gruesome. Daddy Jin, nah. He's the true villain of this series. If there was a true villain, Daddy Jin is it. Jin Guangshan, he is like, nah, there's nothing redeemable about him in this series. Like, he's the worst. And he's not only the worst, but his actions influence the entire story. All the bad things, too. Like, the whole thing with Yao, the whole, oh, just forget it. Like, just, it's crazy. And it's characters like Daddy Jin that reinforce the mindsets of Yong's character. Like, Yong's character's whole thing was that, oh, people are awful and they're terrible and they're not redeemable. And so they deserve to die if they cross me. And you're like, well, Young, not everybody's like that. And then when you see Daddy Jin, you're like, no, wait, no, there are people like that. Never mind. But that and Yellow Soy, I really think that MXTX makes a point of, as far as individual characters go, Daddy Jin's probably the closest to being a true antagonist. Like, he's the true villain of the story. But I think MXTX is also saying that as a whole, story-wise, the real villain is like the mob mentality. It's the idea that how our opinions and our antagonism and hatred can change on a dime between characters. And I think that it's so masterful the way that when they're all about to go to Guanyin Temple, when there's that scene with Sissy and Bishao, where they have that, where the mob instantly turns from hating Wuxin to hating Yao, and Wuxin sees that. It's a perfect example of, wow, this really just showcases how fragile like humanity is in terms of like its opinions about things and targeting its hatred. It's like, ugh. So yeah, Yellow Soy, the mob is never affected. It's rough. But Loon Yuri, some people say that Wei Wuxian is a morally gray character, and I was wondering if people agree with that, because I feel he's way and it says my connection's unstable, so I'm gonna wait for a second to make sure it reconnects. But okay, as far as Wuxian being morally gray, I feel like that's such a hard question. Oh, and then Kian Fong is saying Zhu Yang being Daddy Jin's offspring. Oh God, please no more bastards from Daddy Jin. No more kids left in the streets with Daddy Jin. Please, no. I do think Wuxian, he is very much a chaotic neutral character. And I only say that because part of Wuxian's character is the Yiling Patriarch. He's part of him is the Yiling Patriarch. You can't separate Wei Wuxian and the Yiling Patriarch are one and the same people. So I feel like if you're going to include that in there, or if you believe in that, then I do think that Wuxian, his actions as the Yiling Patriarch are a bit morally gray. But Wuxian, I feel like when he's resurrected, when he comes back as Mo Yu, he is more of like a true neutral character. He doesn't necessarily condemn people, but he's just trying to figure out what's going on and just trying to bring to light the truth of the matter. Because Wuxian doesn't really pass judgment on characters once he's resurrected as Mo Yu. He doesn't really pass judgment or be like, oh, this character's evil, this character's good. Instead, I like that what a lot of MXTX does with his character is Wuxian goes on this quest to just bring out the truth of what's going on and letting us, the audience, decide, okay, do we think this is right or wrong? And I like that. I like that Wuxian's just a chaotic, neutral character. He's like, this is what I think. I'm trying to bring out this stuff to light. You all do what you want with it. But, and I guess that would be morally gray, right? I don't know. That's a really good question. Molly says that Wuxian's morality has always been consistent, but he's also done some bad things like torture. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you include the Yiling Patriarch as part of Wuxian, and really, honestly, I don't think it's a slip up with the writing. I think MXTX is showing just how much hatred and trauma can bring you to a really dark place. Like when Wuxian and Chang, when their parents die, yeah, that is traumatic. And it's natural. We're human beings. It's natural for us to feel those emotions towards the people that caused that pain. Like, he knows that Chao and Zhao Zhao were responsible for Feng Mian and for Yu's death. So of course, him and Chang, it's so uncomfortable for us as the readers, because as we're reading it, we understand, we relate. We're like, yeah, they're killing and torturing these people, but we get where they're coming from. Like, they just watched their entire home burn to the ground and people die. It makes sense why they did it, but it's uncomfortable. And I feel like that's where Wanji is so important in that scene, because we see Wanji outside of the house where all that's going down, and we see Wanji just being like, because Wanji lost someone too, right? He's lost his dad and his home, but he doesn't react in the same way that Wuxian and Chang does. And that doesn't necessarily make Wuxian and Chang wrong for doing what they did, but it does point out that yeah, there may be some issues that how they handled it is different than Wanji. And so not that it's bad or good, but that you understand why they're doing things. And yeah, it's a hard question, but love for you men. They all need therapy. Yes. I think in a lot of shows that I watch, if there needs to be characters that are therapists. Do they exist? I feel like Jishin's probably the closest we get to a therapist in this show, which is really tragic because by the end, Jishin needs a therapist. Yanli is also a therapist, but we know what happens to her. Hashtag tears. Oh, Yanli. I volunteer to therapy. Yeah. Yanli is an emotional support. God, Yanli, I feel for so let's get into this. Going back in here. As far as the Untamed goes, before we get any further with characters, I do want to say that I do appreciate that the show did do a special edition. I do appreciate that the show did do a special edition of the Untamed and included more scenes with the Wangshin with Wanji and Wushin. I really appreciate that. Honestly, y'all, I did not like that video that I recorded with the extra Wangshin scene, with the special edition scenes. It's probably my least favorite reaction discussion I've done for the Untamed. I was like, I just felt very discombobulated. And I try to be an organized person because I'm too much of a planner that I have to be hyper organized. And so that video, I'm like, I could have been better. So I apologize if y'all watched that and you were like, but I just could have been better in my mind. But I do appreciate that they did do a special edition and gave us more Wangshin themes. I will say this, watching the scene of Yang smiling and looking lovingly over at Jingxin, that was soul giving. That was like soul, just making myself feel a lot more better. Make myself feel better. That whole moment there. So yeah, I'm going to look at the chat here for a second with Yanli. Yanli, someone says a therapist transmigrated to the world of Mo Dao Zu Shi. That would be great. I would really like that. I probably need to read that now that I can read the fan fiction on here. Okay. So like I said, I am going to eventually read the manhua and react to it as a whole. But let's talk about the novel and audio drama before we get any more into the characters in this. So the novel and audio drama, my favorite of the whole thing is the audio drama and the novel. I've never really reacted to an entire audio drama series. I've reacted to audio dramas before for different series, but reacting to an entire series to the audio drama was an experience. And I really, really love being able to go through the novel. I definitely think for Heaven Official's Blessing, when I get to the novel back there, I will probably do like live novel reactions like I did in the very last video, just because I don't think there's an online version unless somebody in Patreon or the Discord sends me the online version that was saved of Heaven Official's Blessing and all of its 244 chapters. That's the thing. Y'all told me that Heaven Official Blessing is long. And I was like, man, Mo Dao Zu Shi is 126 chapters with all the extras. It took a long time to get through. And then somebody was like, yeah, there's like 100 more chapters with Heaven Official's Blessing. I'm like, 100 more? What? So, 8 volumes. 8 volumes. I think there's only 4 of Mo Dao Zu Shi, so it's twice the length. Oh my God. like MXTX, what are you doing? It's longer than the Bible. Oh my gosh. I've done a daunting task. It's going to be a daunting task. KixK, thank you. Yeah, if you have that file, I may actually ask for it because I have a feeling that by the time I get to the Donghua and read the first novel, I feel like the second one, the other editions aren't going to be out yet. So I may take you up on that offer, honestly. And yeah, it would take 8 seasons for the Donghua to continue. I'm all for it. If I got to wait 8 years to finish the Donghua, sure, I'm game. Let's do it. We'll all be ancient by internet standards by then, but it's fine. We're like, it's all for the sake of watching a quality Donghua, right? So, and they're doing a live action. Unfortunately, to answer, someone asked if there was an audio drama. Kilma, to answer your question, or Klima, to answer your question, there is not an audio drama yet, which is sad because I love the audio drama. That's why we need a golden core. We need a golden core so we won't age, right? So I do think though that the audio drama really helped me get more into the novel for Mo Dao Zu Shi. So I am sad there's not one for Scum Villain or for Heaven Official's Blessing yet, but that's okay. That's fine. If they make one, I definitely want to listen to it because that would be really, really nice. But the audio drama and the novel is just, it's so good. And I feel like the audio drama really made you appreciate the novel chapters even more. Yeah, Rebecca, I do not want to be immortal. No, watching shows now and realizing immortality, not the best thing. No. That's what makes humanity great, right? The fact that we're not immortal. But so I've got on here in big giant letters that y'all probably can't see. But the extra chapters of Mo Dao Zu Shi. Can we talk about the extra chapters? Can we talk about them? Can we talk about them just for a minute? I like the first 5 minutes was talking about Bishan, and I was like, we need to hold off at least for another hour. The hour has passed. I'm curious to know your thoughts as a whole about these extra chapters. I wanted to know since starting to read them, your thoughts about the extra chapters, because I remember getting into the novel and I remember getting into the novel. I'm looking at the chat here, and everybody's like incense burners and spicy. Yeah. I remember getting to Mo Dao Zu Shi and starting to read this, and everybody was like, oh, it's a Don Mai. Oh, there's all of this romance and stuff. And granted, yeah, there was a lot of romance, but I was like, I'm not seeing the spiciness that everybody keeps saying is going to happen. Like, it took us like 80 to 90 chapters to get into their first kiss. And I was like, where's all this at? And then somebody finally said, oh, you need to get to the extra chapters. And I was like, and then it happens. And then it happens. MXTX says, you know what? You suffered through 100 chapters of waiting to see if these two characters were going to get together. And now that we've gotten here, now you're going to get to see it. So Keon Fong says, you've got to react to the manhwa version of the incense burner someday. Okay, now someone did send me, Molly actually sent a link to the incense burner chapters. I have read them, but only the one that Molly sent. But I will probably, when I do the manhwa reaction, I'll probably go back and show you all those. Those of you that haven't seen it, you need to. So I'll probably go back and put that on there because, whoa. But man, I'm wanting to know when the manhwa gets to the extra chapters, because right now where I've left off at is chapter 231, and it's where the bathtub is broken. Wushin and Wanji just had their first physical thing, and it's where the bathtub is broken, and Wushin's like putting on his robe, and he does the whole thing like, oh, I don't want you to touch me, I can do it myself, and him and Wanji like go on separate terms. So that's where I've left off at with the manhwa. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just wait till the manhwa's done. But I'm curious, do you all really think, because I remember back like a year ago when I first started reading the novel and looking at the manhwa, several people were like, oh, well, they've censored the kiss. And you got to find the extra pages where they censored the kiss. And I was like, okay, they're going to censor a lot in this, right? But the last couple chapters that I've read, there's a lot of stuff they don't censor. They're like, nope, we're doing it. And so I'm curious, do you all think that they will really illustrate the extra chapters? Do you all think that they'll do that? Because I'm like, I could see them doing the confession and see them like making out in the Guanyin temple, which I'm excited for because the confession's so perfect. And I'm really excited to see that. But I'm like, when they get to the extra chapters, are they really going to illustrate that? Because there's some like, I mean, with the incense burner chapters, I mean, just the ending of Mo Dao Zu Shi where they just do it in the road. I love that in the Untamed, they stumble upon Mian Mian and they're like, oh, hey, Mian Mian, what's up? I'm like, someone said in the comments, they said, could you imagine if Mian Mian and her daughter are like walking down the road and they hear something and Mian Mian's like puts earmuffs over her daughter's ears and like leads her straight, like, oh my God, no. And so we don't want to see that. But okay, Yellow Soy Molly saying that it'll probably be like panels from the artist on Twitter rather than official. Okay. Yeah, so that'll probably be official. Okay. Wanji is a serial killer. Oh, he's killed all the bathtubs. Wanji is a bathtub. The bathtub market in Gusu is going to thrive now that this series is over. I just imagine Chirin going every day. Every day a junior walks to go take a bath, and they come to Chirin's quarters, and they're like, hey, Chirin, I don't know how to tell you this, but another bathtub has been destroyed. And Chirin just like rips up his scroll that he's working on. It's like, well, can we also talk about Chirin? The fact MXTX, I love that MXTX originally wanted to kill off Ning, kill off Ling, kill off Chang. MXTX just wanted to make it like an onslaught of like every character close to Wuxian dying, which I'm glad she didn't. I'm glad she kept them alive. But I love that she's such a troll as an author. She's like, okay, well, I'm not going to kill off these characters, but you know what I am going to do? I'm going to make Chirin live right next. His bedroom is right next door to Wanji and Wuxian's. Why? Like, I feel so bad for Chirin by the end of this series because he's accepted that his nephew is, and it's not even the fact that his nephew is marrying a man. It's not even that. It's the fact that it's Wuxian. I don't think Chirin would have cared if it had been any other man, but the fact that it's Wuxian, Chirin's like, why him? It's just like, he's your one mistake, Wanji. Why him? And then it's not just the fact that he's accepted Wuxian. He invited him to the banquet, but now he has to sleep next to them as they have their like kinky antics. What? Yeah, Molly. Chirin is not homophobic. He is Wuxian phobic because that's been like the bane of his existence from the entire series. Like, I feel like Chirin was totally fine with Zhishin going off with Yao, but it's just the fact that it's literally Wuxian. He's like, you couldn't have fallen in love with Aang? No, it has to be Wuxian. Like, I've been away for 3 minutes and you're dating the worst boy in class. It's like, oh my God. Oh, that's amazing, Kian. It's like Chirin's like looking around the room at all of the candidates being like, you know what? Maybe Wanji will have a crush on one of these schoolboys. And then there's Wuxian like picking his nose and like throwing paper wads at Huaisang. And he's like, but not that one. Oh, until the rule about Wei Wuxian is removed from the wall, Lan Chirin cannot have nice things. I feel like once Wuxian and Wanji moved to Gusu, 1,000 more rules were added about PDA. Like just 1,000 more were just added to the point where Jingyi and Sishui, they're going to remain virgins until they can leave Gusu. Like there's just no way. Teacher's pet falls in love with the class clown. It's a classic trope. And Wuxian was like, that's the thing. Wuxian's not the bad boy. It's not the bad boy trope. Wuxian is not. He's just literally the class clown. That's so funny. I like that, Molly. That's a great description. I do think, yeah, Chirin whipping for defending Wuxian's place. Yeah. It's just, maybe that's it, Rebecca. Maybe Chirin's punishment for making Wanji suffer those 31 lashes. Maybe the punishment was that now he has to sleep next door to Wuxian and Wanji having their happy domestic bliss ever after. Maybe that's his punishment. It's like, oh, you made Wanji like lash himself and be traumatized by that. Okay, cool. Now you get to sleep next to them forever. Karma is real. Yes, karma is real. That's it. MXTX is like, MXTX chose violence and was like, no, this is how you're suffering, Chirin. This is how it's going. Rule 4056. The library pavilion is for reading only. Not for incense burners. Not for that. No. Karma. Mm-mm. But man, but yeah, the extra chapters, surprising no one, I'm a pretty vanilla person. So surprising no one, right? I feel like everybody has their kinks. Everybody, if you are someone that likes romantic things, everyone has their kinks. And that's fine. What I think MXTX does that's really cool is that they go through the gambit of everything. They just run through everything. Like, is there a kink you possibly have? Wuxian and Wanji have probably done it. That's fine. But yeah, that's what I love about the extra chapters is that, what is this, Rebecca? Who's right, who's wrong, who's black, who's white? Mm-hmm. And then Molly saying, remember that for what Wanji did, he could have been executed. That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Good point there. But yeah, I figure it's really funny. You guys were saying something about Ice Dragon. MXTX stated in a chapter that she ended up cutting it in the final release. Wuxian was going to do some research that gave Chirin a key deviation. No, a key deviation. No. Oh no. See, I think it's better that Chirin has to live next to Wanji and Wushin now. As much of it is as karma and as bad as I feel for him having to sleep next to Wushin and Wanji. No. This is the ultimate suffering, is that Chirin now has to sleep next to them and listen to them for eternity. Like that's their that's his punishment. No, he's not getting off easy. But that is the one thing that I like that MXTX does. She's like, you've spent this entire series with these two men, and you've been waiting for spiciness to happen, and you've probably imagined in your head what would happen between these characters. So now, what if we just went through every possible fantasy that you guys were thinking of and have them do it? So it's like, yeah, did you think Wanji and Wushin would be kinky? Sure, let's explore that. Did you think that they would be having soft, fluffy domestic moments? Sure, let's do that. Do you think they'd have really cute little cuddly kissy moments? Sure, let's do that. Let's just run the gambit. It's not all going to be spice. There's going to be sugar. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be saucy. Let's just run the gambit and have them do any possible thing you can think of. And they do. And it's great. Personally, it's funny because I feel like everybody has like their kinks that they like to read. And so, if you have a specific thing you enjoy, then MXTX kind of touches upon it with their characters in the extra chapters. What does it say here on the chat here? Wei Wuxian is basically going to learn how to cultivate a way to give Lanzan a biological child. Yeah, we got into like ABO stuff. We got into like the non-consensual. I like that. I forget who it was that phrased it on YouTube. They said consensual, non-consensual. I do like that. Like it's just a kink. It's just role play. Like we go through role play. We go through ABO stuff. We go through using Bishan as a dildo. We go through like the whole gambit. It's like, it's just everything you can imagine happens in this series. It's wonderful. And so thank you for not spoiling me. Yes, I don't want Heaven Official Blessing spoilings yet. Obviously not. But yeah, that's what I like about it. And honestly, as much as Bishan, like those chapters made me go, excuse me, what? I do appreciate that MXTX just went there. She was like, nope, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to go there and that's fine, right? Are you guys ready for it? And they're extra chapters. So I like that they are at the end of the story. So if you wanted to stop Mo Dao Zu Shi, if you wanted to stop it in the last chapter, yeah, they get together and they do it in the road. They have that sex scene in the road. And that's, if you wanted to stop right there and end it, that's as far as you need to go. And there you go. They got together, they had sex, they're together now, they have a happy ever after ending. It's fine. And if you wanted to stop there, you could. I like that she chose to put all of the smut and spice at the very, very end, to where it was not necessarily, it wasn't needed to get the full story about these characters and the relationship. But if you wanted to see what happened afterwards, here's what happened. And very few stories get to do that. That's what I love. Usually, honestly, one of the reasons that I don't think I'll read a lot of fan fiction with Mo Dao Zu Shi is because I don't need to. The story is there itself. And the chapters are there. The spicy stuff is there for you. It's like, wow, okay. Because in a lot of stories, I know if you guys have BL series or series that you make like BL couples out of, the great thing about fan fiction is a lot of times the authors don't give us that ending with those characters. We don't get the happy ending. We don't get to see them next to each other or in these romantic situations. And so we turn to fan fiction to kind of pick up and read that for ourselves and say, okay, I want these two characters to get together. They're not getting together in the canon. So I'm going to go off and read that myself and on fan fiction time. But here with this story, I mean, yeah, the fan art, we need the fan art, obviously, to like illustrate these scenes for us. But the nice thing is that you actually have a series that gives you a canon couple that end up happily together at the end of the series, that get to have romantic, spicy moments. And then we can go from there. So I'm going to look back at the chat here. What is this? Star Ember, fan arts of Heaven Official Blessing. Oh, okay. Talk about that. Freezy Grant, hello. I love MDZS modern AUs. Yeah, that is one thing I do want to look up now that the series is over, is that I've heard a lot of people talk about modern AUs of Mo Dao Zu Shi. I do want to look that up because I think that would be cool, seeing like some alternate universes with these characters. That would be a lot of fun. And now that I'm not going to be spoiled by anything, that would be really, really cool. But Star Ember did fan art for Mo Dao Zu Shi. Okay, cool. Thank you for you, men. Awesome. Nice. So, okay. I'm going back here to characters and themes. And if y'all have any questions in the chat, please put them up because I'm kind of like going through my list here of things to talk about. Okay. Yeah. That anime Annie, that feeling, I know that feeling all too well. Like as soon as you finish a series and you don't get like the romantic satisfaction you want to with characters, that you immediately go to fan art and fan fiction to be like, okay, y'all fill in the gaps for me. What are we doing? Fan theories. Yellow Soy, what kind of fan theories? Are we talking about Mo Dao Zu Shi, about the Untamed? I'm curious. Time travel AUs, that could be a lot of fun. And then talking about some different fan artists that have done things on here. As far as characters and themes, I'm curious to know in the chat. Okay, Yellow Soy, a dark one from Mo Dao Zu Shi. I want to hear this fan theory. Feel free to speak into the chat these theories. And talking about dog phobia. Yeah, Wushin's dog phobia. That is the one thing about the Untamed that they could not really quite get down. In the donghua and in the novel especially, you really get Wushin's dog phobia, and Fairy can be in the novel portrayed as a more threatening presence, but in the Untamed, because they're using a trained dog that can't and should not attack people, it's just Fairy. It's just this beautiful husky that's like running around looking adorable, and it's like, oh, that's not that intimidating. But in the novel, it is. Oh God, his parents being killed by dogs. That's terrifying. That is the one thing we never really got in the series is Wushin's parents. We see them in the donghua, and we get little brief glimpses and information about them from the novel and in the Untamed, but we don't really get much about Wushin's parents. And that is, if I had wanted one more thing out of this, we get enough with Wanji and Jishin's parents that you can kind of fill in the gaps. But one thing I did want to know is, how did Wushin's parents die? What were the circumstances? Because Wushin's left on the street for years, right, before Feng Mian finds him. So that is one aspect of the story that we never really get an answer to. And Wushin doesn't quite remember it, so he can't really talk about it. So that part I do wish we had more information about, because that would have been nice to know. And then the dog being possessed dog. Speaking of dogs, like you have Wushin with the dog phobia, and then the fact that Huiseng has canonically killed a bunch of cats. What? That is the one thing that is kind of disturbing about Huiseng's character, is the fact that he has killed cats and literally hung them up for Jingyi and the other disciples to find. That part is kind of disturbing. Like, just in the weirdest of ways. It's like, oh, so Huiseng killed a bunch of cats and strung their corpses up. And that's the other thing too about all the actions that Huiseng did throughout the series to lead Wushin and Wanji to finding out more about Yao and his plans. Honestly, if one thing had gone wrong, Ling and the others could have been killed. They could have been hurt. And then Huiseng would have been like, it's just part of exposing Yao. Like, okay, I don't think it was he. Oh, it might have been Zhu Yang doing it to lure him. Okay, that is true. And see, that's the other thing too. It's so ambiguous that Wushin suspects that it was Huiseng that did it, but he suspects that it was Huiseng that did it. But man, it could have been Yang. So that is the other thing too. We as the audience, we aren't given concrete answers for some of those questions. So yeah, it might not have been Huiseng. That's the thing too. We don't know for sure. So we, the audience, just get to endlessly speculate about it. It definitely seems like it's more in Yang's character to kill a bunch of cats and string up their corpses. It seems way more in character with Yang than Huiseng. But at the same time, it would be more disturbing if it was Huiseng than Yang. So there's like, what do we do with that? I like that everybody in the chat is trying to connect to see if Wushin's parents were killed by dogs. That's where we've gotten into an hour and a half into the chat. That's where we're at. Are you going to watch the live action or the anime? Oh, I didn't know there was an anime for Semantic Error. I know that there's a manhwa for it. I didn't know there was like an animated version. I was intending on doing the live action, because I haven't, the Untamed has been the only live action I've reacted to on this channel. So I wanted to do another one of it. And so I wanted to do Semantic Error, the live action, honestly, but I didn't know there was an animated version either. But yeah. So then somebody said, but Huiseng caused all the Mo house deaths, even if they weren't nice people. Yeah, Diana, it's weird. Maybe Huiseng just collected dead cats. Now I have this mental image of Huiseng just going out to the side of the road and looking for roadkill, and he has like a stick. He's just like poking a dead cat and putting it in a bag. Like, just need these to lure the kids to Wanji and Wushin, to Yang. That's so bizarre. Oh man, speaking of Yang, we have not talked about Yi City. have not talked about E-City in this live stream, and I feel like we need to bring up E-City because I feel like that's some of people's favorite part of this series, even though it's like its own little standalone arc in all of this. But I love E-City. E-City is great. I was really looking forward to it when season 3 of the Dongwa was coming out. Everybody kept saying it's going to be about E-City. It's going to be about E-City. It's going to be about E-City. As people are like, I don't want to talk about it because it's sad. Okay, there is a short anime about semantic error. I'll probably watch the live action because it's longer and I've heard it's better. So yeah. But with E-City, it is pain. Yeah. I feel like E-City does a bunch of really cool things that MXTX does with it. We got 3 episodes in the Dongwa, which was, to be honest, the Dongwa, for what it does with E-City, I thought it does. I still now think the Dongwa did a good job with E-City for what it did, for what it had to work with. I still think the Dongwa adaptation of E-City is really good. The animation of Jingshin slicing his neck in the Dongwa and the animation of Yang trying to like hold the blood in and like bring the soul and put it back into the body. Like the Dongwa's adaptation of Yang reacting to Jingshin's death is so good. Like I love the Dongwa's version of E-City, even though it's condensed, even though it's shortened. I do love that version of it. The Untamed version is, and I do like that the Untamed takes the liberty of being like, no, Song is going to kill Yang in this version. He's actually going to kill him. It's like, okay. But seeing Yang's actor in the Untamed, I liked Yang a lot in the Dongwa, but the Untamed made me love Yang because like his actor, I can't remember his name right now, but Yang's actor in the Untamed is just shit. He's like Wushin. And it's funny because he tried out for Wushin, but both him and Zahn, they're so perfect in those characters. I can't picture anybody else playing Yang. I can't picture anybody else playing Wushin after those 2 actors. Like they're just so freaking good. Wong Haojuan, is that right? Wong Haojuan. He's so good. And seeing him in the behind the scenes without the wig with his hair cut short, I was like, oh my gosh, he looks so different. And he's so like soft spoken and like gentle. He's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, you're Yang. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, he had so much fun in that role. And I feel like Yang is a character that you really have to ham it up because he is so over the top. He's so over the top and like exaggerated and theatrical as an antagonist that if you're going to have an actor play him, they have to really ham it up and commit 120%. And Wong Haojuan really does it. Like he absolutely embodied that role and just took it to another level. Like the gestures he makes, like the smirk, like the way he talks, like it was just so perfectly exaggerated. It was wonderful. But yeah, I feel like E-City not only allows us to kind of take E-City functions really awesome on a lot of levels because on one hand, you've just come off of figuring out that Wanji has just figured out that it's Wushin inside Mo Jianyu's body. He's just figured that out. We've just learned that there's possibly another party involved in all of this that is trying to expose the other party. The mystery has become deeper, and we need a way to. E-City is the perfect way for us to segue from one act of the series to the next while allowing our juniors to interact with Wushin, allowing Wushin and Wanji to interact together and reconnect after figuring out that each other is who they are, allowing us to take a detour with these characters that are essentially what would happen if Wushin and Wanji didn't have a happy ending. I think that in a lot of ways, MXTX put these characters in the series to say, you know, here's what would happen if Wangshin didn't have a happy ending. Here we go. And so I love that arc a lot, even though it's definitely a standalone arc and it feels like removed from the rest of the story. It also feels necessary in the same way. So it's just so good. I love it. And poor Jingshin and Song. And then we see in the Untamed, Wanji and Wushin in the restaurant afterwards. And that's when Wanji takes the shot because he sees the parallels between Song and him and Jingshin and Wushin. It's like, it's so good. It's so good. I love that everybody wanted to play Yang too. Everybody wanted to play his character, but they picked the right actor. Absolutely. He was perfect. So behind, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And honestly, E-City is, I feel like if MXTX wanted to write a straight up horror story, like E-City is the perfect representation of what could have happened, right? Because MXTX writing E-City, it's like a literal horror story. Like there are elements, like the whole point where Ah-Ching is being tested by Yang, that's just horror. Like there's so much tension and like thrilling moments there that you're like on the edge of your seat going, is he going to figure out who she is? What's going to happen? It's terrifying, right? I do think that Yang, and it's funny because Yang and Wuxin and Yao all have similarities in terms that they're all, like Rebecca, you said, they're street kids. Yang and Yao and Wuxin are all street kids that grew up on the streets, but they all go different directions. Their characters all branch out in different ways because their personalities are all very different and their outlook on life is all very different. I feel like Yao is kind of in the middle of the spectrum with Wuxin and Yang. Wuxin, when we see his flashback, like the eating watermelon extra, Wuxin shows that, like, even though he was on the streets, even though nobody cared about him or seemed to like kick him to the curb, he still had optimism. He still looked at everything with a smile and he was still kind and compassionate. Yang is treated the same way, but views everyone as an enemy. Whereas Wuxin treats everyone as like being a potential friend. Yang treats everybody as being a potential enemy. And then Yao kind of rides that weird middle line where you're not quite sure where he stands. Like there's some people he like befriends along the way, and there's some people he instantly thinks are enemies. He kind of rides that middle line. But oh my gosh. So going back to the chat here. Yeah, Wei also had, and that's the thing too. Wuxin did have a good parental support until they died, and then he was picked up by Feng Mian, who instantly loved him. Even though Madame Yu gave him a really hard time, Feng Mian really loved Wuxin, whereas Yang got none of that. So we see what happens when you have a total absence of parenting. And then with Yao, yeah, his mother loved him and was a good influence, but then he got the whole thing with his father, Daddy Jin, who was the worst person imaginable. And Daddy Jin and Feng Mian are like total opposites of the spectrum. So it just goes to show, like, I think MXTX makes a really good point. Like you say, Couscous, is that Yao's parenting defined his fate. I think in a lot of things we see in this series how important parents are and how their parenting impacts their children and their children's actions and their children's parenting. So it's just a really good commentary with that. But okay. Samina, I don't think I'll have a boyfriend because who in this world will wait for me 13 years? Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like, well, you know, we all need a Wanji in our lives. I think that's clear, right? We all need a Wanji. That just needs to happen because Wanji is so perfect. Like a man that will wait for you. Mm-hmm. And not only wait for you, but the moment that he like came back, he was like, Wuxin, oh my gosh. Like just Wangshin is an OTP. Wangshin is just absolutely perfect. They're two characters that they're so different, and that's the funny thing. They're not really opposites attract because they are very different characters personality-wise, but they're really not opposites. Their personalities complement one another. Their personalities, their moral, the way that they view people and go about their moral like principles is very similar, and that is what connects them together. So I've got a bunch of people on Discord bringing some things here, so I'm going to kind of like hold on a second and check out Discord for a second, if that's all right with y'all, because people are like, it's going down. So I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. So if you guys have any questions in the chat that you want to bring up about Mo Dao Zu Shi, the Untamed, I want to bring that up real quick and then say that. But let me go to here to the Mo Dao Zu Shi thread here. Thoughts on Mo Yu? Okay, so I'm getting on here. Okay, I've gotten like somebody sent like a modern AU. Things like that. Awesome. Okay. So thoughts on Mo Yu, Phelan. Oh man. Okay. I feel bad because we don't get a lot with Mo Yu. I honestly, if there's any character I wanted to see more of in this series, other than Wuxin's parents, it's Mo Yu, because we really get little bits and pieces of his past, but a lot of them are kind of not unreliable narrators telling us what happened, but okay, and Shizun, I'm going to get to your question here in a minute. But Mo Yu, I wanted to see more of his past. I wanted to see more of him. Like, was he hitting on Yao? Was he really trying to flirt with his cousin? Why did he get kicked out? Is his spirit inside Little Apple? Like, is his spirit in Little Apple for real? I wanted more about did he actually flirt with Yao? I wanted more about, did Mo Yu actually talk with Hui Sang? How did he get to getting the sacrificial ritual that he used to get Wushin back into his body. I wanted more backstory by him. Or was it really just unreliable narrator? Mo Dao strikes me as a tragic figure, and I wanted more about his character. I just wanted more background on him. So I am sad that we didn't get as much with him. And then Little Apple, I love Little Apple. Little Apple's great. I do like the theory that Mo Dao soul is in Little Apple now. I feel kind of bad though, because Little Apple has to experience a lot of PDA between Wangshen. And it's kind of like cheering, Mo Dao didn't get to experience that in his life, and now he has to experience someone. That's the thing too. Okay, here's the thing: if Mo Dao's spirit is in Little Apple, and he is watching Wushin in his body that was formerly his body, making out with Wanji, who Mo Dao would probably have known from the past. How does he feel about that? Because that's a really good question. Like, how would Mo Dao feel about someone in his body making out or more with someone else? Like, awkward. Yes, Yellow Soy, awkward. Because yeah, you think about, especially the last chapter, that every day is every day. He's sitting there, like tied off to a tree, munching on an apple while Wushin and Wanji do the deed in the dirt, like secondhand embarrassment. Like, what? I honestly would be like, I actually don't want it confirmed now. Like you said, Loon Yuri, I don't want it confirmed that Mo Dao's spirit is in Little Apple, because that kind of would be torturous, knowing someo's walking around in your body making out and doing other things with someone else, and you don't get to experience it. So Qian Fong, Mo Dao is canonly gay, so maybe his dream of dating some high-level nobleman came true. But that's kind of like, I agree, but that's like he can't experience that for himself. It's just voyeurism. He just gets to watch it. So maybe, I mean, best case scenario, that's a kink for Mo Dao, and he gets with that. So maybe we'll just look at it that way. MXTX does not shy away from people's kinks being, revealed. So maybe Mo Dao is just really into that sort of thing, and he's fine. He's having a happy ending. We're just gonna go with that. Do you think Mo Dao loved apples when he was still alive? That would be the thing. If we got any type of Cyril, if we got any type of hint that he actually did like apples, I think that would be the nail in the coffin that it is Mo Dao's spirit in Little Apple. So I think if we got any confirmation by MXTX about that, that would just prove it. But I do think that he did need some more context with his character. I feel like it would have been neat to get more with this character later on and see, okay, so Ice Dragon, Mo is definitely a very interesting character. So many holes in his context. Yeah, there's just so much we don't know about him that we, the audience, have to piece together and fill in for ourselves, that it's like, I really hope that he's not in Little Apple now, unless he's into that sort of thing. Really hoping that's not the case. But someone asked above, if I was in a sect, which one would I be in? Would not be in the Wind sect for obvious reasons. Would probably not be in the Knee sect, because I don't like the idea of, I'm not a fighter, so I don't like the idea of sword fighting, and also I don't want to have chi deviation because of, a sword spirit. So not in the Knee sect. Nope. The Jin sect seems to have really bad luck. So I'm like, oh, it would probably be between the Lan clan and the Zhang clan, between those two. But honestly, I'm going to lean more towards Gusu. Even though there's a lot of rules, I'm kind of an introvert. So I don't seem like it, but I'm kind of an introvert. And so I could totally like hang out in the library and hang out. Although here's the thing. The one thing about the Lan clan is that Chirin has so many rules. I could do the be quiet part. I could be quiet. Yeah. Rebecca's like, can you live with 30,000 rules? That's the one thing. Here's the thing. I do drink a little bit. Not a lot, but I do drink occasionally. And so it is like a Hogwarts style choice, but the Zhang sect has great food. They do have the get along soup. They do let you drink, and they do not have 30,000 rules. So I'd probably have to say the Zhang sect. And then, okay. Frezzy's like, you can do a quiz on the character sect and see which character you are. You know what? I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull that up beside here while I'm doing this chat. And we're going to do this live and see what sect I'm in. What Mo Dao Zu Shi sect are you? Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to find out. We're going to confirm. We are going to confirm to do the quizzes to see which one I am. Okay, so there's one that's like a personality quiz. Which sect do you belong to? I'm curious which one's going to be the more accurate one. Now we're talking. Okay. So I'm doing the one on Quotev. I don't know what that one is, but we're just going to go with it. Okay. Which of the following do you desire the most? All right. Wealth, power, prestige, knowledge, virtue, or self-control. I can't imagine what these all go to. Oh no. Okay. Which do I desire the most? I would probably say knowledge, because I would want to know how to heal myself or to help others. So I'd probably say knowledge. What are your core values? Well, there's a lot here. Okay, so curiosity, courage, reliability, loyalty, excellence, efficiency, honesty, consistency, innovation, creativity, perseverance, or compassion. Ooh, which are my core values? Do I only get to pick one? That's frustrating. There's so many. Okay, Rebecca, I like that you're doing this too. I'm doing it the one on Quotev to see which one I'm in. Okay. I don't think I could survive a 4,000 rule, so I don't think it might be. Oh, do you get to pick more? Okay, good. You get to pick multiple ones. I think. Okay, I'm going to go with the one I like the most. Okay, it says, do I get to pick? I like innovation and creativity. Oh, you do get to pick. Okay, courage and reliability, loyalty, and efficiency and honesty. We're going to go with those. Okay. I picked a lot. Wing Clan are muggles. Maybe the Wing Clan are squibs. Maybe that's it. Okay, your sect. Sushi, for the record, if Sushi was in Hogwarts, if Sushi was in the world of Harry Potter, Sushi would be a squib. Just saying. Your sect is about to enter into war. Which primary method would you use to side? Crush your enemy by sheer force number, fight head on, hinder the trade routes, and destroy their economy. I'm going to say destroy their economy because I don't like to fight. All right. When fighting with a group, you would take on a role as the tank, the assassin, the support, the duelist, the ranged, or the medic. Ooh, I'm going to say probably the support or medic. I'm probably going to say medic. Okay. Kendo or fencing? Oh, I'm going to say fencing. Which of the following is most similar to the place society you live in? Rich urban, like New York? No. Up north, capital of my country, the city, far away from the hustle and bustle where it's quiet. It's more urban than rural. I'm going to say the away from the hustle and bustle. I'm pretty rural. All right. Which colors would you like? Okay. Now this one, the which colors would you like on your uniform? That one is pretty much like which sector you belonging to. Because it's like, okay, gold. Oh, Clima, it's almost 3 a.m. here. Oh my gosh, Clima, thank you for staying on the chat this long. Thank you. This will be posted up later, but thank you so much. Oh my gosh. But yeah, thank you. Have fun too. Thank you for joining the chat. I'm going to say black and gold, yellow, white and blue, red and white. I do like black and gold, yellow. I'm going to pick that one. Which food do you usually eat? Pasta, noodles, spicy food, expensive food, simple, lots of protein, steaks, lamb, venison. Okay, here's my thing. This is hard because I like bread, but I also like spicy food, but I also like protein. Like I'm a carnivore, absolutely a carnivore. Ooh, I'm gonna say the pasta noodle one though. Okay. What do you normally wear? And I'm curious if you all get this, if you all have this. Ivan and Ida, you are a champ, like staying until the end. Okay. So if you all are doing this quiz with me too, we're seeing which sect that we are currently in. I'm doing the one on Quo TV. There's 15 questions. I'm on question 9. So I'm going to say casual. All right. And go that. And then formal. Okay, we're going to do that. Who do I admire the most? Let's say that one. What sort of music do I like? Contemporary, jazz, rock. Let's say rock. Which art do you connect with the most? Ooh, this one's really hard. I do like 20th century art. Okay, almost to the end here. Almost to the end. Which book is my favorite? Why do you have to pick genres? No. I'm going to say romance. And then which book is my favorite of these? Ooh, 1984. Slaughterhouse-Five, though. Definitely Slaughterhouse-Five is my favorite. And then last question. Where do you wish to travel to? Somewhere with a great beach, Swiss Alps, place with outdoor activities with rich culture like Paris. I'm going to say Paris or Rome. Okay, y'all. I'm in the Land Clan. Yes, that's the one that I wanted. It put me in the Gusu land sect. Okay, it's official. I'm with Wanji. With Wanji and Sishui, Jingyi. There we go. Surprising no one. Oh my gosh, purple ink skies, 2 a.m. You got class. Dude, friend. Hopefully you get a little bit of sleep. I hear you though. I can be an insomniac sometimes too. Okay. So yeah, I'm officially in Gusu. So I am with Wanji, which I am fine. Thanks. Congrats. Thank you. If I were doing Hogwarts House, I'm a Ravenclaw. So that kind of fits. Ravenclaw and Gusu, they go hand in hand. That fits. It fits. Makes sense, right? Okay. So one thing I did want to talk about with y'all in this chat is the idea of the climax of this series. I do want to get your impressions about the climax of this series, because honestly, that's the one thing that I think probably my favorite thing about Mo Dao Zu Shi in terms of the novel is that the climax of this story is so much different than I've really experienced in other stories that I've read, because a lot of times I was really worried going into this story that the third act, the climax, usually for an author, the climax of a story is the hardest to get down because you've built the story up for hundreds of chapters. You've built it up this far. You've reached the climax of the story. And I think for a lot of authors, that's where they kind of fall off the mark, is it's like, what do I do now that I've gotten to this big high point? How do I end the story? And what I love about Mo Dao Zu Shi is I think MXTX ends it. It's perfect. Like the climax, it's so unexpected. You forget for a long time in this story that at its core, this is a romance. This is a romance between Wanji and Wushin, and that it's about them falling in love, rekindling their romance, getting together. And so but it's all taking place in this action-oriented universe. It's like Mo Dao Zu Shi is a romance first, a mystery second, and a supernatural action third. And it definitely goes in that order by the time you get to the climax. And it proves that, yes, this has been it all along. Because the climax of this movie, the climax of this series, both in the Untamed and this, is basically just Wushin and Wanji reconnecting in Guanyin Temple. The climax of the novel is our boyfriends coming together, rekindling their romance, confessing their love in the rain, making out, turning out all the candles, and just confessing that they love each other in a temple with all this stuff going on. And then after that, it's unraveling the mystery. And then after that, it's solving the thing with Mingzhu and all the action oriented. So in what other story, Yellow Soy, as you point out, in what other story can they make out while being held hostage? I've not read any of those. Also, Yao is the most polite hostage holder ever. Yao was like, do you want to take this inside? like I just love that Yao, yeah, Yao is too busy making sure that Wang Shen becomes canon to run away, right? And he wants to make sure that Jishin's ship sails, right? So, but I just love the climax of this series. It's perfect. It wasn't what I expected in the best way possible. And that was so awesome. Like, I absolutely love it. But it kind of ties perfectly with the themes of the story, which are about second chances. It's about characters like getting the second chance and taking advantage of that and making the most out of what they do with the time that's left for them. Like, I love that. This is in most romance stories, these characters don't get a second chance. And here, that's what the whole theme is. It's about taking advantage of that second chance that they get and making the most out of it. Yeah, Sayumi, I agree. I did not expect Yao to be like, do you want to just take this inside and go from there? Like, it's the most polite hostage situation in a story I've ever read, but it fits Yao's character so well because Yao just wanted to get out of there. He wasn't trying to kill Wanji and Wushin. He just wanted to leave. He just wanted to take his mom's corpse and go. That is another thing, too. The implication of what happened with Yao's mother's corpse with Bai Huaseng is very creepy. Like, that part really made me go, like, that part of the novel where Huaseng's like, who knows what could have happened to it? I'm like that part was very disturbing. I was like, oh, it's the one line that I feel really ties Huaseng as being such a more dastardly, sinister character than is let on. Diana Williams, I do want Yao the Wedding Planner fanfic. Y'all that write Mo Dao Zu Shi fanfiction, if you write a modern AU fanfic for Mo Dao Zu Shi, can y'all please write like Yao as the wedding planner and like Jishin, like a romance between him and Jishin? That would be really great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Molly, I agree. Huaseng should have left Mingxi alone. She didn't do anything wrong. That was the one part I was like, oh, like that part really made me look at Huaseng a little bit differently, where I was like, That's just, she didn't do anything wrong. Yao just wanted to take his mother's body and go. And the fact that he didn't get to do that and instead was locked in a coffin with Mingzhu to be torn apart, even after his neck was snapped. Yikes. it's gruesome, right? Oh, even Azita, that's awesome. Yeah, if you ever get time to do a fanfic about Yao the Wedding Planner, I would love it. Hello, Blue Sea Devotee. Hello, hello. But a party planner for his dad meets Jishin on a dating app. Molly, comment, share this, find a video on YouTube and share that link in a comment. I would love to read that. That sounds amazing. That fanfic sounds awesome. But okay, so I had on here my favorite characters and least favorite characters. I think I had that. Nobody had asked that yet, but I did want to talk about it. Least favorite characters are easy. Daddy Jin is the least favorite, honestly. Daddy Jin's least favorite character. I think he's everybody's least favorite character in the story. I don't think anybody likes Daddy Jin. Honestly, this is the funny part, is that I forgot about Sushi throughout most of this series. I forgot about Sushi a lot. And by the end of it, though, I did kind of feel bad. I did feel bad with Sushi's death, because even though he inadvertently caused the majority of the conflict in this story, as far as Zishuan is concerned, in the end, he actually trusted Yao and did everything he could to protect Yao up until the end. And Yao was kind of grateful for it. So it's kind of sad. Let me see here. Did Jingguan populate a whole village? Okay, yeah, Cyril, I do like Daddy Jin's design in the Donghua. It's very fitting, because that's the thing. Daddy Jin, if you believe he's like a playboy, I think Daddy Jin looks the most like a playboy in the Donghua. Like, he just looks so slimy but handsome. Like, you get why a bunch of women would get with him in the Donghua. Like, you totally get it. He looks like super handsome. And I get in the Untamed that they had to. I get in the Untamed they had to use an older actor just because it makes sense, because it's consistent with the other actors. But in the Donghua, Daddy Jim is just like that sexy slimy that you're just like disgusted with. Although the girl that had to kiss Daddy Jim in the Untamed and take the grape out of his mouth, it's like the one kiss in Mo Dao Zu Shi in the Untamed. And a lot of you commented that the Untamed got away with leaving a lot of the romance and kissing out because of censorship, but they are able to put that one kiss in the Untamed because it's just so disgusting. It's like, what are y'all saying here? Daddy Ching is worse. Yeah, okay. Daddy Ching was worse. Yeah, Wen Ching. Are you talking about the Wen dad was worse than Daddy Jin? Are you talking about Ruhan? Which Wen dad are we talking about? Is what I would like to know. An act too often neglected by area. Okay, I'm going to write down, Molly, this fanfic you're requesting. An act too often neglected. Okay. I'm going to write that down. Oh, Wen Chao's dad. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Pretty awful. I would say that. Absolutely. When Zhao reads the confession scene lines. Oh, a clip where he reads the lines? Are you talking about, oh, yeah. Interesting. What are you talking about, Frizzy Grant? Is that from the Untamed? Interesting. Yeah, I'd say they're the worst characters, Daddy Jin and then the Wen dad. They're probably the worst characters in all of this. But my favorite characters, honestly, my favorite since the beginning of the novel has been Wanji. Makes sense. I'm in the Gusu clan. Why not? Like, I love Wushin to pieces. Wushin probably my second favorite, but Wanji, I am a sucker for I'm a sucker for a character that has pined and waited for another one's love. Like, it's relatable. Like, if you've ever had an unrequited love, it's so relatable that you get what that's like. And Wanji's story is one that if you've ever had an unrequited love, it's what you hope for. You're like, you just hope that one day it does work itself out. 9.5 times out of 10, it usually doesn't. But Wanji is just his character, his devotion to Wushin, his just like stoic reserve. It's like those type of characters I swoon for. I'm like, yes, Wanji is just amazing. I love Wushin to pieces, and he's probably the very, very close second. But yeah, if you don't like Sushi, I totally understand it, because I don't like Sushi really either. I just felt kind of bad when he died. MXTX tries to make his death a seemingly teensy bit sympathetic, but otherwise, like, no. But yeah, we are all Jingyi as La Wanji supporters. Yes, absolutely. Wanji's just the best. Unrequited love and pining is the best. And that's the thing. That is the thing. It's Mo Dao Zu Shi takes that unrequited love and pining thing and rewards you for it. Because a lot of stories end in angst and you don't see that unrequited love or pining rewarded or resolved. But Mo Dao Zu Shi's like, no, you're going to get your ending that you want. And it's like, Okay, somebody said, oh, you're going to love Heaven Official's Blessing, the pining in it. Ah, yes. I don't want any spoilers though, because I'm only 3 episodes into Heaven Official's Blessing. I've watched episodes 1 and 2 together, so that's going to come out tomorrow on YouTube. Episodes 1 and 2 on Netflix I watched together, and then I just watched episode 3 for Patreon. So that's as far as I've gotten with Heaven Official's Blessing. But I don't want any character spoilers, but I am excited. If the Heaven Official's Blessing is all about pining, I'm ready. I'm probably not ready, but I am ready. Okay, Dorian K. Romania, what do you think are the best and worst written characters? The best and worst written characters. Oh, man. They're all so well written, but the best out of all of them, I like Wanji a lot, but I'd want to say, that Wushin is probably one of the better written characters because he's so flawed and human. Because what I like about Wushin's characters, what I love about the novel is that the novel, in comparison to the Untamed and the Donghua, because of censorship, the Untamed and the Donghua try to make it to where Wushin is not fallible or responsible for a lot of things that happen in the story, that it's other people's fault and Wushin's not to blame. But what I love about the novel is that the fact that no, Wushin does have some responsibility in this. Not a lot. I mean, there's other factors that influence it, but Wushin did make some decisions that are flawed, and that makes him human. And I really like how fleshed out Wushin's character is. For a character we follow throughout the story, we really get into his headspace. We get into his emotions and how he feels about things. And we get to see like him reason through like the things that have happened in his life and being like, oh, okay, this is what I did. And now he has to go back and try to fix it in his second time around. So I really, really like that about his character. I think Wushin's probably the best written character in the series. And then you get Wanji in there as well. And the character writing with him is great too. The worst written character, and I'm curious what you all think about this as well. The worst written character, that's so hard. I don't want to say they're the worst written character, but characters I wish I'd had more writing of. I wish we'd had more writing on Mo Jianyu. I wish we'd had more writing with Mingzhu. I wish we'd had more writing with Song Lan. I wish we'd had more with him. I wish we'd had more writing on Fengmian and Yu's relationship. We really get to delve into it, but I wish we'd had more. It's not that they're badly written, but I wanted more of them. I wanted more of their characters. I wanted more with Zixuan. I wanted more with Sushi. Like, I just feel like there's so many characters. But again, she wrote 126 chapters. Like, she could have made it the same length as Heaven Official's Blessing, I guess, and have given us that. But that's kind of where the Untamed comes into play, because the Untamed kind of picks up and gives us more character development with those ones that aren't as developed in the novel, which I like. So I hope that answers your question somewhat, but that's really hard because Mo Dao Zu Shi's strength is its character writing. And I am a character-driven story person. Like I can deal with plot contrivances in a story if the characters are good. And I feel like the characters are great in this series. So I can give it for that. Cyril, when will you be doing Scumbag System reactions? Well, I'm going through the series in order. So I'm going with Heaven Official's Blessing yet. I don't know how long it will take me to get through Heaven Official's Blessing, but here's the thing. I don't think I will be on Heaven Official's Blessing as long as I have been with Mo Dao Zu Shi. Like, I was on Mo Dao Zu Shi for 1.5 years. Like, I started, but I was only on it 1.5 years because I stopped reading the novel and waited until I was done with the Donghua season 3 before picking it back up again. So I think if I had been reading the novel and doing the audio drama at the same time as the Donghua, I would have gotten through this by like December of last year, probably. So because there is with Heaven Official's Blessing, only the Donghua and only the novel and the manhua, I do think that I'm going to do the Donghua first through this summer and then start doing the novel and the manhua together and reviewing and reacting to those. So probably by the time we get to Scum Villain Self-Saving System, it'll probably be by the start of 2023, probably And then if we get a season 2 of the Donghua, if we get an audio drama and more of that with Heaven Official's Blessing, I'll probably just do it along the same time as Scum Villain or whatever series I'm watching or listening to. I'll probably do it like kind of like what I did with Mo Dao Zu Shi and the Untamed at the same time. I'll probably do that if we get more material with Heaven Official's Blessing. I'll probably do it as well, right? So I hope that answers your question there. Loon Yuri, talking about tropes and characters, who do you prefer more, Cinnamon Roll or Chaotic Gremlin? I knew where you were going with this because it's like, okay, Heaven Official's Blessing. We don't know much about Jillian yet. But we know from my experience from 3 episodes in, Jillian is more of a cinnamon roll. But it's weird because he's kind of a cinnamon roll, but in the 3 episodes I've watched of Heaven Official's Blessing, he can get serious and like get down to business. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's like parts of Jillian that we've not seen yet. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I personally love cinnamon roll characters a lot. It's why I love Ning so much. I love chaotic gremlins. I like when chaotic gremlins and cinnamon rolls are together, like when they're paired up against each other. When they're paired together, that's my favorite, is when you have a chaotic gremlin character and a cinnamon roll character and they're paired together. That's my favorite because I'm like, oh yes, that dynamic is like, mwah. I'm like, he's a cinnamon roll that can kill you. A deadly cinnamon roll. Now see, Jillian, if Jillian is a deadly cinnamon roll, that's my jam. I think I'm going to love that. That's going to be like, okay, you have me, MXTX. You're getting me on board here. Okay, I'm excited. So I'm like, ooh. That's the thing. I don't want any spoilers for Heaven Official's Blessing, but I can't tell you all how excited I am to get into this series because I have been so hyped and anticipating. It's been sitting on my shelf for so long that I'm like, I'm just sitting there like waiting to dive into it. So, okay. Jillian reminds you of Jingshin. Ooh, interesting. See, I wanted more of Jingshin in Mo Dao Zu Shi, so that makes me excited. That makes me really excited to get more into his character. All right, a deadly cinnamon roll. I'm so excited. I do like, but see, Diginova Star, hello. I see you in the chat. I do like chaotic characters like Dazai and like Wushin. So, but I feel like Mr. Smirk. I don't want to know his name yet. We've not got his name yet. He's Mr. I'm calling him Mr. Smirk right now because he's the one that shows up. He's the bridegroom that shows up at the end of episode 1 and 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. I don't want to know his name yet, but I know that he smirks and he's very handsome. And I've been calling him Mr. Smirk and he seems chaotic. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, Mr. Bridegroom. I'm like, he seems chaotic. I'm excited for his character too. So, and if he ends up in a relationship with Mr. Cinnamon Roll, then I'm like, even better. So yes, I'm all very much excited about that. Let me see. Is there any other questions on here? Let me see if there's any other ones on here. A lot of you are recommending Thousand Autumns. Mm-hmm. But yes, Mr. Smirk, indeed. I'm so excited about Mr. Smirk. He's just, he's part of the Mr. Men. What? I don't know. All I know is that, yeah, I'm excited to see what is more going to happen to them. Okay. About shows you've watched before the channel. Oh, okay, Lunuri. That's a really good idea. I do want to, my thing with the live streams is that my internet is so shoddy. I do want to do more live streams and I feel like I'm not going to be finishing a lot of series anytime soon because we do have a lot of series I've just started. So that's a really good idea, Loon. I'm going to write that down of just doing live stream about series that I've already watched. I have thought about doing on Patreon, starting on Patreon. I think I'm going to start in June. If you are a patron on Patreon, starting in June, I do want to do like rewatches of series. I thought about doing it through Discord, but it's really hard. I've tried to like do some stuff with screen sharing in Discord and it works out really weird. Chim Heart Attack. Thank you for joining the discussion in the chat. I can't believe y'all have stayed on when it's like 1 to 3 a.m. in your own countries. That's crazy. Thank you for joining me. I'll have this posted later. Thank you so much. A Twitch channel. Oh my gosh. A Twitch channel. I'm tech savvy enough. I'm tech savvy enough. And honestly, my internet connection, I don't know if Twitch would really be able to, if it would be able to handle Twitch. I don't know, but I do want to do some more live streams on here. That's a really good idea about doing some with series that I've watched in the past. I am going to do on Patreon some rewatching of anime that I've seen in the past. Like maybe like, for example, my idea is that for the month of June, I want to rewatch Yuri on Ice in the English dub and post it on Patreon. So I may do that on Patreon, post my rewatches of it first, and then maybe in July post them on YouTube and do them like a month later. So there's that. I don't like doing. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, you can do Patreon only things," and I'm like, I feel like that is a disservice in a way because not everybody can afford Patreon. And I get that because there's a lot of reactors that I want to give patronage to, and I'm like, I can't afford it. So I don't want to be somebody that's like just limiting, like, oh, you can't afford to watch this exclusive stuff. I don't want to be elitist like that. Like that's not cool. So I may just do like a rewatch of Yuri on Ice in June in the dub on Patreon, and then post it later on YouTube, and then do like the skate dub. Yeah, definitely. And maybe, yeah, Annie, maybe if I start rewatching Yuri on Ice and Skate the Infinity, it will bring us closer to those other animation projects actually coming out. That would be great. Now, Fruits Basket is going to eventually be something that I do watch here on the channel eventually. I think once Attack on Titan Junior High is over, once Attack on Titan Junior High is over, I want to replace that series with a romance because I'm watching too many serious shows that are making my brain rot. And so I'm like, So I'm going to definitely, the series that's going to replace Attack on Titan Junior High is going to be a romance series because I need it in my life. Now that Mo Dao Zu Shi is over, I need a romance. And so Fruits Basket will be on that poll probably. So there'll be that. So y'all will get to possibly vote for that because that's going to be a public poll. So that one will be possibly something you get to vote for. But thank you guys so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Y'all are too nice. But yeah, the dub for Yuri on Ice. Yes, Sunray, the dub for Yuri on Ice, honestly, is one of the very rare. The dub for Yuri on Ice is one of the rare dubs that I prefer to the sub. And so I am really excited to rewatch it. So I've heard that Heaven Official Blessings English dub is not bad. I've heard it's really good. But I feel like since it's a Donghua, I want to watch it in the original subs first. But that may be something too. Go back and rewatching the dubs and talking about it later. But yeah, plot twist. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, we're not going to get into Attack on Titan spoilers in this, but Mom, your thing about the plot twist with Eren, that's perfect. Yeah. I really hope that the Yuri on Ice. So maybe me watching Heaven Official's Blessing, it will be like Mo Dao Zu Shi, where I started watching the Donghua for Mo Dao Zu Shi, and then season 3 came out. But maybe this will spurn the season 2 of the Donghua for Heaven Official's Blessing to come out anytime later too. Maybe that'll be the case. I don't know. But yeah, that's my plan. So tomorrow on YouTube, there is going to be starting at 8 a.m. episodes 1 and 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. I decided to go through Netflix. I had several people on Patreon that I polled and asked about. Some people did their research. Thank you all for doing that. But after Funimation just lags way too much on my computer. It lags awful. If you've watched some other series with me, you know how bad Funimation lags. It's pretty bad. I did not want to go to a sketch site. And so I had some people recommend, they're like, just watch episodes 1 and 2 on Netflix together and you'll be fine. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's what I'm going to do. So tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, Yuri on Ice, Heaven Official Blessing episodes 1 and 2 from Netflix. I'm going to react to those and discuss them. Pretty excited. And then at noon Central Standard Time is going to be the behind the scenes reaction. So it's going to be 3 hours worth of me reacting to the behind the scenes with the Untamed. So hope y'all are ready for that. It was actually a lot of fun. I watched it on my birthday. So I was like, I woke up on my birthday and I thought I want to watch the Untamed behind the scenes. And so I got my cup of coffee, my blanket, and I sat there. It was pretty nice to sit there with a blanket and watch like 3 hours of behind the scenes stuff to like start off my birthday. It was a lot of fun. So that was really great. Yeah. But anyway, so that's the plans. And then if you're a patron, then tomorrow episode 3 will come out of Heaven Official's Blessing, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, my plans moving forward is to watch Heaven Official's Blessings, Donghua, the whole season, all of that, and then start looking at the novel and the manhwa. Do that, and then after Heaven Official's Blessing, it will be Scum Villain Self-Saving System, doing the Donghua and doing that. And then I'm going from there doing Donghua Mondays. So that will be the case. And in the meantime, I am planning to do other behind-the-scene Untamed reactions and do that as we move forward. And then once the manhwa of Mo Dao Zu Shi is finished, doing like a reaction of chapters 232 to the end. That'll be really fun. But thank you, Shizun. Thank you very much. The behind the scenes episode 36. Yes. Okay. The trash boyfriend. Yeah, that's going to be in the behind the scenes tomorrow. So pretty exciting. Yay. But yeah. So you guys have any more questions? We've done almost 2.5 hours talking about these series, which doesn't seem like a lot because we could talk so much more about them. But I feel like I ramble so much in these reactions. And I love this series so much that it's definitely one of my favorites. If you ask me what my favorite Donghua is, well, it's Mo Dao Zu Shi right now. Granted, I've only seen that in Link Click, but also I don't know how. Look, do some fun AV songs, videos, and watch them on a live stream. The hard with the timer, that's the thing. I don't have the tech to do like the reactions on a live stream like that. What I might do though, now that we've done, now that there's no more spoilers for the Untamed and Mo Dao Zu Shi, if I do the manhua reaction, I think I'll do it as a premiere here on YouTube. So the premiere lets you do like a chat along the same time frame, lets you do a chat. And so we could have that where we have a premiere feature so that as we're going through the manhua reactions, I can be on the chat with you all and we can talk about it as we go. That might be kind of fun. Did you know, the star? I know that my recap for Attack on Titan is 5+ hours. I'm dreading season 4 part 2 because it's probably gonna be longer, but those aren't live streams. Those I can edit and plan out and stop the camera and go get a drink and use the bathroom and then come back. Yeah, no, I can't say anything about those. I can talk for a long time. No, okay, Anam, I will say this since we're nearing the end of the live stream, towards the end of it, unless you all have questions for me. We're in Q&A mode now. I will say I've thought about doing like an Attack on Titan live stream, but you know how long that would be? That would be insanity. It would just be, I'd have to just set aside a day and just be like, prepare your hydration, just like set aside a day and be like, here we go, y'all. Hope you strapped in because we're gonna have bathroom breaks, like all this stuff. Oh my gosh. So, but yeah, we'll see. I'm going to probably use this summer when I have a little bit more time off from work. I'm going to do some experimenting with some stuff with live stream and things and just with technology in general and try to do more experimentation with that as we go and get a new webcam because my one web camera that I have is about shot. So those of you that support through Patreon, thank you because I need a new webcam. I've had this one 1.5 years and it's like a rinky dink webcam. It's pretty basic. So, hopefully the audio has not gone. Is the audio still there? Can you all still hear me? Maybe, hopefully. But yeah, I type if you all can still hear me. So yeah, okay, good. I was like, oh no. So yeah, technology, the dreads of living in a rural area is like technology does not want to be your friend or it's not there at all. So yay, thank you all. But yeah, so I'm very curious. But yeah, okay. Oh no. Oh, someone's saying Yona of the Dawn. I don't want to get into too much Yona of the Dawn spoilers because that's a whole different show, Loon. But I can say to answer your question without spoiling anybody, Hawk's the top. In both literally and figuratively. But Zeno and J-Ho would be my close second and third. And then Yona's in there too, but Yona's like a given. But yeah. So will I react to Meat Bun novels? Again, I'm going to make a list probably once I get done with Scumville and Self-Saving System. I'm probably going to have a list. I've got a list started of Donmai and Donghua that have been recommended to me. And so that's a really good question, Kix K, of will I pause on novel reading of Heaven Official's Blessing in anticipation for the second season, or will I continue after season 1? I will probably poll Patreon for that, honestly. Like I said, I got lucky with Mo Dao Zu Shi that all of the content I needed was at my disposal. I was super lucky. I was like, I could just dive into Mo Dao Zu Shi and do this entire thing in one fell swoop. And I was spoiled. I feel like I'm not being spoiled with Heaven Official's Blessing and Scum Villain because the stuff isn't complete. So I will probably poll Patreon and see what you all want me to do. If you want me to stop at Heaven Official's Blessing and wait for season 2 of the Donghua to come out, or if you want me to go straight into Scum Villain and go from there and then stop and then do a Donmai and go back to it, I'll probably poll you all to see what you all will prefer. So we'll probably do that. As far as I'm going back up here, and see. Oh, Black Butler, Kuroshizuji. I started watching Black Butler. I've seen season 1 of Black Butler, and I've read the manga up through a lot of it. But I'll be honest, it's been a good decade since I've read Black Butler and watched it. So I do eventually want to get to Book of Atlantic and the Book of Circus. That may be like a sub goal on YouTube, to be like a sub goal to get into those. That would be fun. Meat Bun wrote 2HA, which is official English translation coming this year. Yeah, 2HA is going to be on the list of Donmai and Donghua to get to after Scum Villain and after Heaven Official's Blessing. That's going to be on there. And then I'll probably ask people on YouTube and Patreon just for a list of things to pull with and do that. That would be good. Mom, Bungo Stray Dogs, light novels. I have read some of them, and I've talked about a couple of them on the reactions themselves to the series. But I am, when season 4 of Bungo Stray Dogs comes out, I am going to do a big recap video for Bungo Stray Dogs to lead up to it and talk about kind of like what I've done for Attack on Titan recaps. And I'll probably talk about the light novels, the ones that I have read, in that recap as well. So, thank you. A Japanese live action series. I'm trying, I'll have to write that one down. Yellow Soy. So Book of Murder is good too. It would be a good refresher. Okay, cool. I didn't know Book of Murder. Okay. So Book of Murder, the movie, that's good to know, Loon. Good to know. But yeah. So better go now. So I honestly thank you all so much for staying on this chat for so long. I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, that's my plan anyway. So Heaven Official's Blessing is starting tomorrow, and I will at least watch season 1 of the Donghua and at least do novel and manhwa reactions for season 1 for the first volume leading up to it, and then we'll kind of go from there and see if we're going to stick to the Heaven Official's Blessing or take a hiatus and start Scum Villain. We'll just go from there. The fact that both series have season 2s coming out is pretty good. But yeah, do y'all have any other questions before I peace out on here and let y'all sleep? But I'm really excited because y'all have recommended some really, really good Donghua and Donmai, and my list keeps growing. And so I'm really, really excited. Purplekin Skies. Yes. The replacement for Ace of the Diamond is going to be a public poll, and it will be a sports anime. I will always try to keep one sports anime as a show that I'm watching because I like sports anime a lot. So the replacement for Ace of the Diamond is going to be a sports anime. So that's going to be here soon. I'm like, ugh. So yeah. But all right. So Rebecca, thank you all for joining me. That's really, really awesome. I'm so glad you all could join this chat. I'm glad you all took like 2.5 hours of your time to spend talking about Mo Dao Zu Shi and Untamed with me. Honestly, we could talk for days about it. I really feel like we could. But if you guys ever comment on any of the videos, if you do any other comments on any of the videos that I have, I definitely will answer them and get back to you. And we can keep talking about these series. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah. And then Sunray, I'm so glad you're rewatching Free. The movie just came out on here and I'm so ready for part 2. But yeah, Fruits Basket will definitely be an option on the romance poll that will replace Attack on Titan Junior High. And then I know Kuroko no Basket is going to be one of the options for the sports anime that's going to replace Ace of the Diamond. So there's that. But thank you all so much for being on this stream. And thank you guys so much for all the kind words. It's been awesome. My dog is looking at me now like I need to take him out. And I want to get some lunch. So otherwise, I'm excited to see you guys in the comment section to talk more about these series. But I'm also excited. Heaven Official's Blessing, it started. It's here finally. I'm so excited to talk about with y'all. So thank you all so much for the kind words and support. And I hope you guys have an amazing evening, an amazing day, and a wonderful week. All right. So I'll talk to y'all again real soon. But in the meantime, stay safe, take care. And I'll see y'all tomorrow with Heaven Official's Blessing. All right. Bye, everybody.